Flame on! How's everybody doing tonight? And I'm here with my special guest, Nick Lenz. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
And today we're going to cover Boruto Chapter 17. I believe this is the penultimate issue of Wait, did we just start Volume 4, or we just wrapped up Volume 4?
I think we're maybe on like volume 5. I think it is maybe because I think let me look on here for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex because I think that the volumes and stuff. Let's see. Sometimes Wikipedia does have a listing of like. Okay, here we go. Boruto chapters. Here we go. So, let's see if we can find it here. So, 2 Blue Vortex. Okay, so it looks like that each volume has got 4 chapters apiece. Volume 1 had the first 4 chapters. 2 had chapters 5 through 8. 3 had 9 through 12. So, I'm guessing, given the fact it's 4 chapters apiece, they're probably on volume 5 now.
Oh, okay. So, all right, we're at the pen. Huh. So I guess we're not at the penultimate issue of Volume 5. I think we're halfway through it.
Or I think we're maybe at the start of Volume 5. Because I think 16 was the end of Volume 4.
4, right.
Because each volume has been like 4 chapters piece. So I'm assuming that Volume 4 is going to be 13, 16, and 5 will be probably 17, 20.
That's fair. All right, okay. So for confirmation, we're officially starting Volume 5. Logistically speaking, we're officially starting Volume 5.
Yep.
But
and the new chapter is called Wild Beast Cubs. And it features Shiki's team. Well, at least basically the other member of his team who looked like he's taller. Looks pretty decent, while the girl looks like she's like a punk. Especially looks like she's wearing a thong. Gets out with a power panties out for her pants. You see that before, right?
No comment. No comment.
Yeah, I've seen it in fiction. So young women like wearing this. So and it looks like her boots, like her ninja boots, they're really big. Some might say they could be like go-go boots or something. Except they're pink. Normally all the boots are black. But here we have pink boots. The only person's boots I could think of who had not been like black, I think Shoji's, I believe, was red at one point. I think Sakura's was pink. But hers weren't basically like freaking go-go boots.
You're right.
Naruto's always in black. A lot of the air characters' boots are always in black. Even Hinata's always in black. Black tends to be like a very standard color for ninjas. And of course, you gotta praise the artist Makito and who keep up basically Kishimoto's thing of the toes showing, because that's a Kishimoto thing. I've read the reason why he does that. He loves drawing toes. That's the only reason why they're like that. And someone think, wait, why are they wearing boots even though their toes are exposed? Because the artists like drawing that way. So it's not the character's fault. It's the creator's fault for that part. And so we're breaking down the chapter where the first part of this thing is basically where Sumri, where she is a bit nervous and jealous of Sadara over Boruto. And the first 2 pages are basically dedicated to that. Along with stuff with meats, along with stuff with a little bit of flashback we have from last chapter. And of course, we have the 2 divine trees. The girl and the guy, where it looks like they killed the toad that looks like that Kashikoji was using in the last chapter. It's like, what trees? This is a desert. Like, Bard to place something in the toad here. Bard with the toad? Okay. Well, that can't happen because Jiraiya actually put 2 people inside of a captured a rain ninja and toad and sent it off to hit the hidden Leaf Village. And the person got attacked. I believe that character was voiced by Todd Eppercorn in the dub. And that very interesting when he infiltrated the Rain Village. And apparently, if I remember from the episode, Jiraiya had put in a message that, oh yeah, Hanzo's dead, and the Hidden Rain Village is controlled by the Akatsuki. Like, he doesn't mention anything about Hanzo. He does ask about Hanzo, but despite the fact they're supposed to be Rain Ninja, they had the whole slash mark in their ninja emblems, which normally means Rogue Ninja, except these people actually still work for the Hidden Rain Village, which in the show they never really explained exactly why in the world would Rogue Ninjas still work in the village they're supposed to be the Rogue Ninja of. It was weird. They never explained it. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
In the main series, the Rain Village never really played a role outside of Kakazu and the Seven-Tailed Jinchuriki. Other than those two, the Hidden Rain Village never really played a role in the main story of Naruto. I mean, it
was featured in a few episodes of Boruto.
They were.
Where the city is basically in ruins. And it still rains there. Despite the fact that when Kono, the one who could turn the paper, that's when she died, that's when the rain stopped, but yet the rain is still falling in the village. And it features something that you probably would never have seen ever in the history of the whole franchise. Sai and Shikamaru, Sai and Sasuke, working together on a mission. I thought that was quite interesting, given the fact these two have never worked together before. Like, the thing is, these two have only shared a screen together once in the entire franchise. And that was during when they reunited with Sasuke during I think it was the second arc of Naruto Shippuden. That was the only time these two ever shared screen time together in the whole canon of the series, because Sasuke was like nowhere near Sai at all for the rest of the series until this two-parter. Were you surprised about that?
I was, if I'm being
given the fact honest. That Sai was created to be a Sasuke clone?
Originally, before they ultimately realized it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, except that, well, the thing with Sai is he doesn't have much emotion. He smiles a lot, which something Sasuke hardly ever did. Like, if you look at all the episodes for Naruto he was featured, I don't think he smiled once the entire series. I think he smiled a couple times.
In the manga, he did.
I don't remember the anime. They never picked ever smiling. Not even in the movies.
I think specific scenes in the manga, he smiled, but those were either flashbacks or in passing. For example, when Sakura ultimately tried to convince Sasuke to stay in the village, but she ultimately choked, Sasuke gave her a smile of endearment before knocking her out. I mean, so other than something like that.
And the thing is, he's never hit any of the female characters in the series, like, seriously. Like, aside from knocking out Sakura, he never really hit any woman in the whole series. I think Naruto has slapped a woman once in a filler episode, but he's never actually hit a woman. Well, technically he has, but that was because she was a bad guy. And because her whole thing is about her hair, not her body. That was during that filler arc, which featured the whole thing of the that group Ashima was part of the series, where one members came back and had this group with them, and she had this thing about making out with Naruto because she wanted his chakra.
Oh, yeah.
But he never punched her. He did kill her, but he never punched her. Kill her with the Renegon. We're saying how he just basically just hits her belly, boop, and can also vaporize her hair too, because she gives more of her hair to her body. So we have Team 7 minus Naruto and Shiki's team minus Shiki, where they're basically watching the trees, and so they need info on the trees. So Konohamaru agrees to go down and talk to them after basically some chatting between these 5 characters, which lasts until, like, this lasts for a good 8 pages. This whole conversation they have, and of course, basically, like, Now, this is something you don't see Konohama doing, just chatting with the bad guys like this. Oh, yeah, and the fact that they know who he is because they want to kill him for reasons. I'm like, I think it's been implied that I think they want his chakra for some reason. Maybe because also he's a grandson of Okage, maybe. But I'm not really sure because I don't think they really explained exactly why they want Konohamaru dead. Or at least they want him per se. At
Well,
least when there's like Sasuke, at least there's a reason why. But Konohamaru, I can't think of a reason. Can you?
well, this chapter, at least for Matsubi, the female Shinju, that does get explained in this chapter, her specifically. But the rest of them, your guess is as good as mine.
And it's almost like her reaction is like Saratobi Konohamaru. Which, fun fact, did you know that Saratobi is an actual name of an actual ninja from Japan?
Hmm.
Yep, some of the characters are in fact named after actual ninjas. I think even Jiraiya is named after a ninja.
Hmm.
Yes, because I remember also this also popped up in the series Skeleton of the World, where a lot of the characters for the Ninja Village are all taken from names from actual ninjas from Japan. And of course, also this is used the basis of Kaku Ranger, where all those characters were descendants of the actual ninjas. So, because I think Saratobi was supposed to be like a high level ninja, so make him Okage like the grandfather makes total sense from a ninja perspective.
Yeah, there is a cultural convention there. I'm not refuting that. But
that's the only two I could think of. I can't think of any other ones that are based on actual ninjas from actual like stuff related ninjas from Japan. Those two, the top two come on top of my head. Maybe somebody besides us can do some research about that.
Maybe. But sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, folks.
And it seems like that when she's talking to Konohamaru, she's blushing.
Yes. Do you want to talk about this now? Or you want to continue the chapter breakdown?
We can talk about this. I think maybe she's in love with him. Or maybe she just likes him somehow. Or maybe she just admires him.
And what's up, Tevia? How's it going? Now, from what I read, I could be misinterpreting this. Now, this is just going off the dialogue. Now, this could be that not only do the Senju inherit certain traits from the people they're modeled from, but they also inherit specific aspects of traits to the people significant to them or the people they want to consume, for lack of a better term, because I don't want to get this demonetized. But excuse me. But yeah, I feel like Matsubi, or I forget her name, feeling towards Konohamaru in this chapter is just unrepressed feelings or unacknowledged feelings from Moegi herself. And I'm like, yeah, the setup's there, but other than the fact that they were on the same squad together and grew up together and rose through the ranks during the blank period, these two didn't show even a speck of chemistry other than being a repeat of Naruto and Sakura's dynamic and the long-running joke of Naruto and Konohamaru being smacked upside the head for saying something perverted or stupid. So other than being, at least in the anime.
Yeah. Because remember also she actually decided to punch him for being a pervert in public. Konohamaru. Aside from that, like the thing is, despite the fact it had been 2 years, Moregi didn't really change very much appearance-wise. Did you notice that?
No.
Everything's changed. She did not change at all. I think she grew a couple inches, but aside from that, not much. I mean, look at, let's say, someone like, I'm trying to think who was that. I think it was Kiba's dog. He was a puppy in part 1. Part 2, he's like a freaking wolf. Hinata grew her hair out. Kiba just changed clothes. Aside from the change of clothes, he didn't really change at all.
Shino didn't change a whole lot, if we're being honest.
Yeah. Kiba can't really think of change on him aside from he changed his coat. got a new coat. You look at someone like Rock Lee, he virtually didn't change at all. His outfit, the only thing changed about him is he got a Chonin vest. That's it. 1010 got a brand new outfit. So did Enji.
Yeah, in the 2 year gap leading to Shippuden, just about everyone in the Konoha 11 got promoted to Chunin, with the exception of Shikamaru, Neji, who both got promoted to Jonin, and Naruto, who was still actively a Genin because he was on the training trip with Jiraiya at the time.
But yeah, he's probably considered a special Genin because he's allowed to participate in big club missions. And plus, also, he has basically the 9 tails in his belly, so he's very strong, so don't leave him behind. Even if he's a Genin. Probably the best jobs he basically took that, as far as I can tell, he never failed any of them in part 1. The bodyguard missions. He was very good at the bodyguard missions.
Most of them were filler, but yes, Naruto did meet the requirement. It's just the fact that, at least from what I understand of the lore, so please forgive me if I misremembered something. You have to complete, a Genin squad has to complete at least 8 missions within a 6-month span.
Mm-hmm.
For all of the Konoha 12, Konoha 11, not counting Sasuke because he was rogue at this point. So counting the majority of the Konoha 11 to go through the Chunin exams at least once, and within 2.5 years leading to Shippuden, you have to meet the requirement. Has to be the test has to be carried out every 6 months.
Yeah, which the anime only depicted, like in the case of Naruto Shippuden, Naruto depicted Chunin exam once. It was a major story arc, which was awesome. The second one didn't happen until like the third to last season of Shippuden.
It was an OVA where
it was a whole season. Where this was a season where at the end of it where Sakura, Choji, Ino, Rock Lee, 1010, they all get promoted to Chonin, and Neji got promoted into Jonin because he actually saved Gaara's life. Because Gaara was about to get murdered in this arc. And this is during a time, this is a flashback arc, which you could say implies his canon because they told this while Sakura is trying to save Naruto's life because because Nine Tails was stripped from his body. Well, they explain was half of the power because his father took half and he took the other half.
Yeah, but he's still a Jinchuriki, regardless. He had a near-death experience. Hagoromo resuscitated them and imbued Naruto and Sasuke 6 past powers. So the parallel is there. It works.
Yeah, one thing you can tell about a lot of the male characters in the series, they keep themselves in good shape. Like, they look at Naruto. Like, they show the fact that a lot of the time he kept in shape, and apparently during time skip, he probably put a lot of muscle on.
The only way you could really tell Naruto slacked off was after he was inaugurated.
Yeah, except they never really show him, show his physique very much in that one. I mean, he didn't look too puffy. His face wasn't puffy. He was wearing a shirt a lot of the time. He looked puffy. He still looked pretty thin. He wasn't eating a lot, per se. But you can't say, well, they did kind of show him working out a bit because one of the episodes, when Sada was trying to change the team lineup, which you couldn't do, but you could change team name from Team 3 to Team 7, we do see Naruto do get a workout by working out with his bodyguard, check out his power, so at least he kept in shape. They do explain that by the time of the movie that a lot of his powers have been lacking, but his healing part of his power, that actually increased over time.
Yes. And between the movie version, we might as well talk about this. Between the movie version and basically the redux they did for the anime and manga proper, the only real difference is the animation. Episode 65 of Boruto is a highlight because of the animation, and the Momoshiki design takes directly from the manga version.
Mm-hmm.
But at least with the movie version, the only real benefit I could give the movie version is the fact that it streamlines everything. Because you don't need 15 episodes for this arc, especially if it's a movie redux.
Mm-hmm.
That story, especially with Boruto using the Ninja Gauntlet, seeing a taste of Naruto's true power and his dedicated resolve to defend the village, and Boruto learning his lesson from 5 years of stewed
I think
ignorance.
that in the show he actually referred to the end of the movie in the
Huh?
tuning exam. I think he went a little further because he actually got past Shikadai.
Yes, in the anime version, he made it all the way to the finals.
In the movie, I think it was disqualifying round 2.
Yes,
When they did the fighting part, anyways,
yes.
because the way they did tuning exam was different, and also the first time you see Bart in the movie, he's basically catching a escaped panda. In the show, he went on a few other missions besides it. There's no mention of the panda in the main show itself. And plus, also, it's like you watch the anime compared to the movie. They really toned down Baruto's brattiness in the show.
Yeah, they really did, especially since even leading up to the movie recap, you were essentially adapting 3 out of the 4 pre-movie Academy novels. You had the Sumire arc, that was a pre-movie novel. The field trip arc in the Hidden Mist Village, that was a pre-movie novel.
The Sadara was an actual manga arc that they adapted.
Yes, that's an extension. That's considered an extension of the main series.
I think it's one of like 2 times prior to from the Baruto manga that from any manga, because a lot of everything else was that from like light novels, like Parent Child Day or the Sid Ninja Scrolls. Would I still think that Visme should license that light novel over here? They licensed the manga, but not the light novel, which I still think is kind of dumb on their part.
Separate licensing, because it's considered supplementary material and not commissioned within the main series. So, if you're
and you have to get a lot of the airline novels over here.
True, especially since supplementary material like novels is considered separate material. At least if a series actually stems from a light novel and got an anime that way, it's largely considered a promotional anime, like say Dragon Ball Heroes, for example. So it plays its purpose.
I think that was motion for a video game.
It was promotion for a video game, but you get what I'm trying to say, like Pokemon, Duel Monsters.
I think that I also had a manga too, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, mangas. Okay, I'm just saying there are exceptions to the rule. We can debate this till we're blue in the face.
Yes, there are some light novels for some series that, for some reason, they're not released here. The manga gets here first, and the manga. Some don't get either. Look at, let's say, an example of this is High School DxD. First light novel in Japan in 2008. That novel was not released here until 2018. Pretty much just after the anime fully was dubbed and wrapped up over here.
Because
it released almost all 25 light novels of that series. I think it's like volume 18, I think it is. They've got almost all the volumes released over here. The manga's all released over here, like all of it. The manga adaptation didn't finish up in the light novels. They only adapted the first 6 books for some reason. Some do continue on for a while, but not all of them. Look, let's say Death and Crimes of Slime, for example. Everything for that was released over here. But the anime, the light novels, the manga adaptation, all the spin-off manga, they're all released here. I own some of it. For that one's because the anime is popular here. Yep, that's the main reason why. Because who can't get enough, basically, about talking slime, right? A talking slime who is a boy who's voiced by a woman.
But back to this. Before we get back to the manga chapter, because I know that's what some of you are here for. Before we get back to the manga, if you compare the brattiness in Boruto from the movie version to the to the series proper, I'm not going to say it's night and day, but there are some differences. You at least see Boruto's perspective. In the movie version, like, okay, this is an epilogue to Naruto's story. This is a wrap-up for the main franchise before we go into the spin-off. So you're really more there as a fan of Naruto and the Naruto series rather than really understanding or heeding what Boruto has to say. Yes, there are aspects of Boruto that makes it compelling, but only in the nuance of the situation.
And plus, also, the movie didn't feature all the Hidden 11. Like, Kiba was not in the movie.
He got a cameo in one frame.
He didn't do anything. One I can think of didn't do anything. I don't remember seeing the movie at all. 10-10.
Wait, didn't she? Yeah, she got a cameo too. She was in one frame during the capture the flag segment.
That was in the show.
You sure? I'm pretty sure she was in the movie too.
I don't remember seeing the movie at all. There was a lot of characters missing from the movie. It was like the previous movie as well, the last, where a lot of the characters were absent. Like Kiba was only there, just flashback. Sasuke was only there for like 2 scenes, and that was it. Tamar was there for like 1 scene, got 2 lines dialogue. One character was surprised in the movie was Killer B. Because I think in the anime, I think he had, but not in the anime very long, he's not exactly one of the big characters, but he's in the movie, and he's fighting a freaking god of the moon. Which apparently is called a chakra gun, which no one knew the Hidden Cloud Village had this damn thing. Apparently they had it since before the Fourth Ninja War, and the only reason why he doesn't fire the damn thing, because Naruto's up there. And his brother's telling him, destroy the freaking moon! He's like, nope, I can't harm Naruto, because him and Naruto are best friends.
But I will say this, and there's virtually no difference in Killer Bee's scene between the movie version and the anime. In the anime, it's directly stated he used a tentacle clone to escape, kind of as a callback when he fought Sasuke, fought Team Heavy, whereas in the movie version, it was heavily implied. But other than that, there's no difference.
Also, Killer Bee, aside from that one episode he's featured in the recap, Killer Bee has never featured in the entirety of Boruto.
Nope.
He was mostly a primary character for Ninja War. That was the whole thing with him. He's featured afterwards a little bit in the post stuff, but aside from that, he's not that big of a character. But he's a fun character. And apparently, the sub actor had been trouble doing the rapping.
But
the first time I've heard the dub voice for Killer Bee was actually in the last film's dub.
Now, when I say, okay, from a watcher's perspective, would you say it's ideal to go through the first 65 episodes to get Boruto's perspective as a protagonist, or just go off the movie version, or go from episode 65 onward?
I would say that the show was more in keen how he presented in the manga than he was in the movie.
That's fair, because rather than going through 65 episodes of essentially novel material, and because contrary to, okay, I'm sorry, I have to bring this up. This would be a lot easier if they just used a separate character model for him. But Boruto is 8 to 10 during the majority of the pre-movie stuff.
The only time he's a featured pre-movie, the first movie, is that post-credit scene from the last, and the day Naruto and Kage. It's the only time we see him before the show came out. Yeah.
Because main timeline-wise, Boruto is anywhere between 8 to 10 years old, leading up to to movie novel 4, which is the Genin exam. I don't know if... Okay, you had... The first one was Sumire. The second one was the field trip to the Hidden Mist. Movie novel 3, I believe, was a top... I don't think movie novel 3 got adapted. I think only Gaiden got adapted in place of that. I would have to go back.
The thing with the Barks Light novels, I would say 6 of them released here, but not all of them. I've only read the ones released here. I've not read all of them because they've never released here, so I can't read them. I read partially of the light adaptation of the last, which is really good, and it does add context to the movie. It doesn't alter anything, but it does add stuff to the movie that should be there, but probably was cut due to time. But it doesn't ruin the movie at all. The book itself does a fair adaptation. Heck, they even feature, like, if you watch the movie, you see Ino and Choji walk into some place, because you see them like, wait, where are they going? In the book, the reason why they're going the direction they're going is because it's Mari's birthday.
Yes, because contrary to the anime, Shikamaru and Tamara were already dating by the last, at least close to a year.
Yes. Until, well, they kind of had the implied, it could have started with the Shikamaru light novel. He asked her on a date. I should point out, though, Tamara is like 2 years older than Shikamaru.
Closer to 3, but I get your point.
Yeah, because I think when they first met, she was 15. He was like 12.
Yeah.
because Shikamaru and Sasuke, along with Kiba, are the only characters who are close to Naruto's age. Rock Lee is 1 year older than Naruto.
Yes. Not counting Konohamaru and their whole subsect of that generation, Naruto is one of the youngest out of the main rookie 9, who then expand into the Konoha 11. But
he grew taller than everybody else except for Kiba.
Yeah, but for the most part, I think Naruto's one of the youngest members, at least in the context of Part 1.
Yeah, and of course they do explain early on about his outfit, of why it changed in the stories, because during the training the jacket was destroyed and Ninja Headband's like clopper was ruined too, so it switches to black. That's why you see black in Part 2. And well, I think in the case of why he was changed, because Keith want to change it. All series do this where they change outfits post time skip. One Piece did it with theirs. Bleach did it with theirs too. Dragon Ball did a time skip. Dragon Ball Z, they had time skips, but they very rarely changed their clothes to different outfits, because a lot of them pretty much kept the same outfits. The only people who changed probably
Bulma, and maybe Vegeta on a good day.
A lot of the time, their outfits stay pretty much the same. But Goku, he's always wearing his gi until the recent stuff. Now, in the case of Krillin, it was kind of the same thing until he married his very lovely wife, Android 18, and gave him a daughter, who he named after his first girlfriend.
Even though she's...
And the weird thing is, I wonder if 18 knows that he named his daughter after his first girlfriend.
To be fair, this is a rare... Okay, filler aside, it's the same naming convention because it's a pun for chestnut. Meta-wise, it's the biggest coincidence possible. It's like one of the showrunners for the anime are like, "Oh, wait, come on, we have to do this." The joke writes itself. But,
yeah, and of course, 18 was asked, like, why is Jamie number 18? And she's like, my father suck at name people. Which is true, because her father was Dr. Gero, who was not a very nice person in the anime. And the fact that she murdered him, actually more like her brother did that. Android 17.
But back to the chapter, okay? This is one of the main thing I really wanted to talk about.
I never compare this series with Dragon Ball because the creator does that all the freaking time.
But
it's totally true. He does take a lot of inspiration from Dragon Ball. He has admitted that in interviews. He has done that, and I believe Oda does it too. I don't think Kubo does it. I don't think he takes inspiration from...
not directly from Dragon Ball. Other works especially, but not Dragon Ball.
I would say he takes more inspiration from Yu Hakusho than Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I would agree to that. Yeah. Definitely Yu Yu Hakusho. Which pre-Big 3 is one of the best animes of the late 90s, early 2000s. You can quote me on that.
Weird thing is the dub came out a decade after the anime came out. Did you realize that?
That is true. Fun fact, believe it or not. Yeah.
How much it took so long?
Toonami didn't really get its stride until the early to mid 90s. Then you have to go through international licensing fees.
I think that Dragon Ball has been dubbed several times over the years. According to the guy who most known voiced Goku,
Sean Schemmel.
Well, he told me this. He didn't dub Dragon Ball the last arc after he went through the first 65 episodes of Z.
Yes.
That's how he told it to me, and then he did about 60 plus a couple movies. That's kind of how he explained how he dubbed the series, both for how he did the dubbing for Z, which kind of makes sense. In fact, Goku is not in a lot of the series because at some points he's like absent for like 10 episodes. And that's not his fault, it's due to filler.
But,
some episodes he's there for a quick cameo and that's it.
That's just how the original anime. Yeah, the original DBZ anime had a lot of filler. Granted, not a lot by our standards today, but a decent amount of filler.
And Kai fixed that basically, like accessing all the filler out. Like they took the opening arc of Z, which took up 6 episodes, and they did it in like 3. Like some of the arcs happen really quickly. Like you look at how much was adapted, like there is no filler in Kai at all.
With the exception of Gregory. Grant, yes, he's technically a filler character, but he does play a role within the larger dynamic of Goku, Bubbles, and King Kai. Gregory does play a role, albeit a comedic one.
Gregory, I believe, was actually in the original manga. And then he was also in Z as well. Gregory, I think, was the grasshopper.
Yeah, Gregory's a grasshopper. Wait, Gregory was... Hold on, I need to go back. But was Gregory in the manga?
I think he was. All with Bubbles.
I thought he was anime original and got added on later.
I know they're both there because basically I think he was next test. Because it's been a while since I read the manga. I do remember seeing him there, but it's been a long time since I read the Dragon Ball manga. Weird thing with the manga itself, where... So... The first, you have 16 novels of Dragon Ball. You would think the next Volume 17 will be just Volume 17 of Dragon Ball. Instead, they changed the name of the series to Dragon Ball Z because that's where adaptations start for the manga for Z. So they call it Dragon Ball Z for 26 volumes. Combined, this is like about 40 volumes.
Yeah.
You just find that kind of weird. I've never heard of a series doing this before where just because it's put the show in half, they did not do it for Naruto. Because it kept that the whole way through. I think I had like 70 volumes for that one. Bleach didn't do that. The Bleach did it with Thousand Blood War because that didn't come out yet. So I would say Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z is the only time that's ever happened that I have ever seen this before, where it's literally the same series, but they changed it. The only time I think this happened with JoJo, but that one has a reason because it's different parts.
Yeah.
But this one. Probably because of the anime.
It was largely done for synergy purposes before it was quickly abandoned.
Yeah, because if you look at the manga volume, it's like 16 Dragon Ball, and then 126 for Dragon Ball Z. But if you look at the inside, it's still the same chapters. They just changed it in the book. It's still Dragon Ball. They call it Z because that's what the anime is called.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was for a very brief period. 10 volumes on a weekly schedule. That's a little over a year.
Yeah, but that's why I saw it here. How they released the manga volumes here, where they changed the name, and it lasted for 26 volumes. I would say that the manga series got the most volumes I have ever seen. It's got to be JoJo with 130. Just behind that is Case Closed, and third longest is One Piece. Because all three of these are the only manga series I have ever seen to have over 100 volumes. Bleach can't claim that. Naruto cannot claim that. Only these three series can. And here's the thing with these three series. They're still being published. Still. JoJo's publishing since the mid-80s. Actually, more like late 80s. Dragon published in the 80s. One Piece published in the 90s. Case Closed published since the early 1990s.
Yeah, like 92, 93, if I remember correctly.
93. The anime started in 95. And the One Piece anime started in 1999. The manga started in 97.
But
One Piece is getting a movie.
I did hear that.
I'm kind of surprised because it's been like, what, 2 years since the last one?
Mm-hmm. But
hopefully it's a bit better story than the last one. This one I thought was good. I thought it was kind of weird they kind of redeemed the villain in the movie like at the end. I thought it was kind of weird. At least Stampede had an excellent villain. I love the villain for Stampede. Douglas Bullet. Remember him? Big bulky guy who kind of looks like basically like a bigger version of Kuma. Who basically had to survive a freaking Buster Call. Buster Call for one guy. One guy. I have never heard of Buster Call ever to kill one guy. Usually destroy an island, but never a freaking guy. Because he's that powerful. But anyways, back to the manga. So then we have it where it looks like we have Shikamaru, the acting Hokage, talking to... I can't tell who this is. I know it's not... It doesn't look like Sai. And it's not Konohamaru. It could be Konohamaru because of the hair. But they don't clarify exactly who this is. It could be Konohamaru, where he's explaining about the thorn bulb thing, which sounds somewhat pretty more weak. So he's probably talking to Konohamaru, but it's kind of hard to tell with this artwork. And plus, that wore a ninja headband. Some characters you can tell who they are just by looking at them, but Konohamaru, this could be just a random guy given the hair. Because first time you see him, all you see is the back of his head. You see close his face, like, okay, who is this? And then we see close up another angle, like, oh, it's Konohamaru. Okay, I kind of wish basically that they would have done this a little better. Now I'm thinking it's more fault of the writer than the actual artist. They could put the word bubble in place. So I explained the whole thing with the bubs. And have you noticed his armband that Konohamaru's got on his arm? Where it's like two circles with these lines. Like I get like he's got the swirl in the back because that's from the village of Waves. That's where Naruto's mom is from. That's why it's there. Because it was explained by Naruto's dad that the reason why that's there because I actually wasn't him. I think it would have been the first Hokage. I think it was where they put that there to basically honoring the long-standing friendship they have with the village, despite the fact it's been destroyed for years.
Indeed, and Tevye, if you're just now joining us, we were a little all over the place earlier, but now we're back on topic with the main Boruto 2 Vortex manga.
Mm-hmm.
We're now on page. I want to say you're on page 27. 16. 16, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, I hope they explain what the symbol is on Konohamaru's arm. Because I know it's on his back, but the arm, I don't know. It could be because he's a Jonin, but I've never known Jonin wearing armbands like that. Because that's new for this post-time scale. I've noticed that for a while he's wearing that. So, like some of the intel passing on from... The Chikamaru doesn't say it's from Bars, but clearly it is. And then we see on his shoulder... Kaji Kojin's toad, implying Chikamaru will be working with him, and he's hiding under his poofy collar. His coat he's wearing here, it's like he's Doctor Strange with his coat. You realize that?
I did notice that.
I don't know if they did that on purpose because all the Hokage coats always got to have these poofy collars, and I wonder if Kishimoto is either. That's not my sheer coincidence, or Kishimoto is a big Doctor Strange fan.
It could be either one. It could be either one. But I did want to comment on this because I've been seeing this online. Shikamaru is becoming a second Danzo, at least how he's portrayed here.
I'm not sure how. I was for Danzo was the idiot because I couldn't stand the character.
I mean, in terms of not being very compassionate, very overly logical, to almost to the point of fault. Like I get where some people are coming from when they say that.
I would say Shikamaru is more manipulated than he is being like Danzo.
Yeah, okay. I will concede your point. I will play devil's advocate. Danzo got away with a lot of what he did due to three main factors.
Yes,
okay, Danzo got away with a lot of what he did largely because Hiruzen didn't have it bring him into him to ultimately take Danzo down. She would do it if it come down to it, but he'd do it with some reluctance. The fact that he was constantly on good terms with Homura and Koharu, the village elders, and he was supposed to be a representative of the hell paved with good intentions. Yes, you could argue that Danzo got away with a lot more than he should have, considering the fact that he was actively sabotaging the Konoha Council, especially with Hiruzen, but a good chunk with Tsunade as well. But by extension, Koharu and Homura would be just as guilty of that for being the village elders. So I do see what Nick is trying to say, but that is not an argument exclusive to Danzo. The reason I've been seeing this a lot here is because Shikamaru is very logical. And even if you factor, let's say, for example, Kawaki and the Omnipotence, the moment Kawaki did what he did leading up to the end of part 1 with Naruto and Hinata being sealed, Shikamaru would have arranged for Kawaki to be unalived, regardless of whether Naruto intervened or not. Like that's just the objective truth here. Even if Naruto intervened, he would quickly be outvoted by the Konoha Council on the matter. And while we're waiting on Nick to come back, Any opinion on Amazing Spider-Man getting relaunched? Not gonna lie, Tevi, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I've completely dropped from that book. I'm sorry, I just have. There's just no point in it.
No
Oh,
one, no one liked the Zeb Wells run. It was, for a lot of people, one of the most hated runs in years.
and I thought Dan Slott's run was bad.
At least he has some good stuff with his run. I would say from 2010, because this run visually started in 2010, even though kind of regular on and off since like 2007. I would say from 2010 to about 2012 was really good. At first, I didn't like Spirit Spider-Man, but over time, I've grown to kind of like it. But I didn't think that how they got to it, what I didn't like. Then a lot of people thought this. When Spirit Spider-Man's done, he's leaving the book. Nope. And people thought he would leave at First Order. Nope. He thought he leave Spider-Verse. Nope. He thought he leave after Secret Wars. Nope. He didn't finally leave after issue 800. Because several points, people thought he would finally leave this book. Heck, people thought he would leave the Clone Conspiracy. I'm glad he did that story because that was something he built as the Spirit Spider-Man.
But before you left before you briefly left the room, we were talking about how Donzo was, although manipulative, he did have the support of the Konoha elders, which allowed him to get away with a lot of what he did for the most part. Granted, Hiruzen did ultimately acquiesce to some degree. For example, the Uchiha massacre. Even with Itachi and Shishui's intel, it was largely unavoidable at that point.
I would say indirectly he caused, but not directly, because it is because of his actions that caused it in the first place. And it was Itachi, the one who did it, with Obito, because he convinced him to work with him to kill the police department, like massacre the whole freaking thing. And
Obito was help organizing the Akatsuki from the shadows. Itachi needed a way in to cement his cover, and not only that, Obito would even take part in exchange. Itachi would allow Obito to take part, I should say.
And here's the thing: how the heck did he even know he existed at that point? Because, from a perspective, Obito was dead. He died in the previous war, so he just somehow found him. I think he claimed he was Man of Rachita, despite he wasn't, because he looked too thin to be Man of Rachita. And he had the one eye because that was explained that the other eye went to went to Kakashi. But it's like, okay, so Obito is responsible for the Nine-Tailed Fox attack, killing Konohama's grandma, which that barely gets brought up in this series because that did happen. He did murder his grandma by stabbing her with a freaking with like I think it was a kun. I think it was a dagger that he just somehow just happened to have. I'm like, where did he get the info to do this stuff he did in the series? I'm like, what was Black Zetsu manipulating him the whole time?
Somewhat, but I feel like it does get explained in key parts of the series if you overlook it. After the death of Rin, in an attempt to repress to reincarnate the Three Tails and keep it dormant, it was just the last straw, broke the camel's back. Obito was completely disillusioned by humanity, by the ninja world from then on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that arc, which took place after her death, which it basically showed it where when Kakashi on Black Ops, that really messed up his head. It was the point where at first they were begging Mento Ambu. He didn't do it at first. And then I think it was Mike Guy who suggested first. And it was Guy, Koronai, and Ashima all begging the Hokage, please take Kakashi off the Black Ops. It's clearly messing with his head. Like, really bad mentally for him. So they took him off of Black Ops. And by the time he left, just by sheer coincidence, he only had it where, oh, here's Itachi who just joined our Black Ops at the age of 11. Because they also had it where, there was stuff with Sai was there too. I think it was I don't think it was created yet. Though I think it was Yamato. I think it was Yamato, where they had to take him away from Danzo in that arc because his purpose was to keep an eye on Naruto. And this was, you could say this was his first chronological appearance. His first actual appearance was in the second arc of Shippuden.
But back to what I was saying. But even then, Donzo, at least in his mind, always did operate with Konoha interest in mind.
Even if it's a warhawk, it's like he craved war. That is what Tsunade described him as.
But
I'm surprised that she never hit him, given how much of a jerk he's been to her.
Needless to say, Donzo got his come up. But the reason I bring that up is that Donzo was very maniacal, manipulative, overly logical to the point of fault. Because Shikamaru does have those parallels to a degree, but he's not as malicious, nowhere near as malicious.
And plus, he's not walking out with an eye patch.
He's just not an idealist like Naruto is. And this isn't coming out of nowhere either. Even going into the Omnipotence arc, where Kawaki sealed Naruto Hinata, they were on a manhunt for Kawaki. Even Amado warned him. Even going into the situation, Shikamaru knew Kawaki had the shortest fuse between him and Boruto. Amado warned him that there was a code phrase they could use to incapacitate Kawaki via his cybernetics. They could resolve the situation without backing Kawaki into a corner. But Shikamaru was on a manhunt. Naruto and Hinata were sealed. And, well, for lack of a better term, Shikamaru was just out for blood at that point. Even when they did ultimately force Kawaki to unseal Naruto and Hinata, and Naruto spoke on Kawaki's behalf, Naruto would ultimately be outvoted on the count by the Konoha Council or Konoha elders that, hey, he conspired against the Hokage, which threatened the security of the village. Kawaki needs to be taken off the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And so you could argue Kawaki ultimately triggered the omnipotence and passed the buck at Boruto as a means of self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
To an extent, but that wasn't Kawaki's main motivation for framing Boruto for Naruto Hinata's deaths. That was just a benefit in the moment.
And also, prior to this, Ada, she did have feelings for Kawaki, but I don't think she does now, given what he did. I think she maybe abandoned her feelings for him when the opponents happened. Because he was shocked the fact to hear that she was in love with him. And then, nothing came of it. It's like she chatted with him briefly once. And it's like they had some interaction, but then the opponents happened, then not much anything afterwards. It's like, did Kawaki do anything with her during time skip? Nothing. Nothing was revealed. It's like she was staying in the house for 2 years with her brother.
Well, it's not. But I do see why people make that argument online, that Donzo wasn't very compassionate to his enemies. He was a scarred man of his era. He was a warmonger to a degree, conspired with Hanzo, the salamander, which then led to the Akatsuki being manipulated by Obito.
I would say indirectly, he's responsible for the creation of the Akatsuki. The one we see in the show. The one where they're vindictive. And yet he does not get blamed for that.
No, even though that technically would be considered a war crime in context. But no, Donzo's not held accountable for that. You're right.
And I'm like, it's because he's the head of the foundation? Is that why they won't convict him?
Because... maybe, but Donzo never saw trial for his crimes.
And the thing is, when he died, he got killed by Sasuke. But I think that's one thing I think the village could easily forgive him for because of how much an evil person Donzo was. I think what happened to him was rightfully deserved. And the fact what he did with those thing in his arm, the
Uchiha arm with all the Sharingans embedded into it.
Yeah, because not only is he directly responsible for war crime, he's also responsible for necrophilia. He stole eyeballs. Because that is technically a crime in real life. Like, stealing from a corpse is a crime. It's not big of a crime, but it is a crime. I'm not sure how much a crime it is in the world of Naruto, but I consider that to be a crime.
Great. Now I'm not gonna be able to unsee that for as long as I live. Thanks, Nick.
Well, the series is known for when it comes to Chias, they love doing the whole eye thing. Because remember they do the whole thing of like,
I got it. I remember that filler scene with Madara's fake backstory with Indra, which actually did have some truth into it. There actually was some truth to it later on. The only
I remember the one thing that I get the fact the whole eyes the whole thing big with the clan, but the eye gouging thing. Why is this necessary for this clan? The Hero clan, they don't do that. They don't do it. They're not worried about that because they are nice. Some of them are very nice people.
Except for the fact that they brand and enforce sealing jutsu on the branch fam or extended family members.
Aside from that, they'll do the eye gouging thing, which is nice.
Even though said branding has a contingency jutsu in place that would unalive them instantly if the Byakugan was harvested in any way.
And yet, Ao got a Byakugan.
Again, maybe Al getting one as a trophy in combat is the reason they started the branding, but I'm just saying that's what happened.
Yeah, and the whole thing with Neji's father, the fact he had the cover for his uncle for killing a representative who is going to kidnap Hinata
to steal the Byakugan. And in terms of preserving your assets and your specific dojutsu's visual prowess, it was considered self-defense.
And believe it or not, this is not the only series I've seen this happen. And where you have to have someone cover for someone else's because someone failed to kidnap somebody, so they had to basically fake a death in order to cover for it. This also happened in Spirit Chronicles, where this series.
I recall Spirit Chronicles.
Yes, they explain in a flashback that the main character's biological mother, apparently there was this diplomat who really wanted her really badly to be his wife, despite the fact she was engaged married to the guy who became the main character's father. And he sent one of his guards to kidnap her in the middle of the night. And her father, and basically the main character's father, saved her, and because he failed to kidnap her, he wanted his hand on a platter because he damn harmed one of his tenants. The subject he did try to commit a crime. So in order to save face, they fled the country. Does that sound kind of similar to what happened here with Nada's father? And it's similar, but
yeah, that's essentially what the Hidden Cloud did. It's essentially what the Hidden Cloud did. They were trying to steal the Byakugan as a military asset. They nabbed the main heiress, which was little Hinata at the time, because I believe this was before Hanabi was born. I could be wrong on that.
Yes. I think they explained, they've never shown Nada's mother in the series. They don't mention what happened to her, but it was implied that her mother was her father's cousin.
Again, a lot of nobility.
It's Japan. They do this. They do this sometimes where they have cousins marry each other. It's Japan. So it's their culture. Moving on.
Needless to say that because they unalived the representative, I don't know if the one we see with a bro ship with Killer B was empowered by this point. This could have been a third Raikage during his tenure. But they were trying to save face. They wanted restitution for what happened to the representative, and they sacrificed Hiashi. Is Neji's father Hiashi? No, Hiashi is Hinata's father. Anyway, yeah. And
the reason why they were able to buy the fact this was the same guy, because Neji's father was Hinata's father's twin brother. That's how they get away with it. And he said the reason why he did it was because it was able to do the seal on his forehead, which in the manga was a swastika. In the anime was an X, which later on, if you've read the manga, Kishimo did change the mark on the Neji's forehead. If you read the manga, he did change to an X after the anime came out. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
I get the reason why they changed it, because if you don't read the manga, like, oh, Neji's got a swastika on his forehead, must associate with Nazism. So they probably did it because people do associate the swastika with Nazis. So that's probably the reason why they changed to an X, which, fine. It's still the same design on the forehead, just they changed the swastika to an X. Which, appreciate the fact he hides it with Ninja Headband. So we don't know the fact he has it. The only time we ever saw it was during the Shooting Exams in Part 1. And we saw it before he died. And that was it. Last time we never saw it. I don't think we even saw it when he was in the episode that was a prologue to Road to Ninja. He never took it off, I remember.
No, not to my knowledge.
If he did, he wore like a band over his head to hide it. Because you never see without a Ninja Headband on. Rock Lee...
he wears his on his belt.
Only one tip on his head, but a lot of them don't want to do that. Like Sakura never did. She wore a top of her head. Ino first wore it as a necklace, and then she stopped wearing it for some strange reason. Choji wore it on his forehead. Hinata wore her necklace and she stopped wearing it. Actually, she stopped wearing it after the Ninja War. She stopped wearing it. Naruto always wore his on his forehead. Sasuke, when he was ninja, he did wear it on his forehead. Which you got praise that some characters do, but not all of them.
But the main reason we're getting to the whole Danzo Shikamaru parallels because Shikamaru's plan is basically befriend the Shinju, become friends with them, stab them in the back, steal the chakra buds or whatever MacGuffin, I forget the exact name, and then separate from them long enough to revive those who have already been sealed and turned into trees.
Mm-hmm. Also, fun fact: of all the previous generation characters, the only one still a Ninja Headband is Kakashi.
Most of them have either have retired or taken a relative back seat to raise families.
Hinata stopped wearing hers with the fourth Ninja War.
I'm not going to say Hinata's retired because light novels do tease that Hinata's still active. She just doesn't wear a headband anymore.
I think she's semi-retired. Kiba does not wear his, despite he's a police officer. I think Rock Lee is a police officer too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but I think Rock Lee still wears his. At least, wait, does he still wear his?
I've not seen very much in the series. Let me think here. A lot of new generation characters, a lot of them do wear on the foreheads. Sadara does. Her mother never did. A lot of them do, surprisingly. I mean, can you think of one character aside from maybe Shikadai who does not wear basically wear the traditional on the forehead? The current generation characters? The ones that are action ninja, not kind of the samurai girl?
Mm-hmm. Subaki. I think
Subaki.
that was her name. But
pretty much everybody else generally do. Actually, wait, there was that one girl from Sumeri's group, the one who cries with the pigtails. She's not wearing Ninja Headband on her head. I think she wears a necklace. You know what I'm talking about, the crier?
Yeah, not Wasabi. What was her name? I forget what her name was, but I know.
And there was the cat girl wears hers on her head.
Yeah, Wasabi. That was Wasabi.
Yes. Denki's team, which also featured Metal Lee and Iwambi, the tall guy with the staff. They all wear their ninja headbands on their head. Which I believe their master, if I'm not mistaken, is Uton. The little kid with the glasses, Mark Konohama's group, one who has this thing of like with his nose. And apparently his nose is a jutsu. I'm like, really? That's his jutsu power? His nose.
I mean,
his name is Team 10.
Yeah, it was set up in the original series to where he was very, very congested and snivelly. It's a decent gag for what it is, and it's consistent with the character.
You ever notice the way he does not wear like ninja boots? It's like whenever you see her in the anime, she's always wearing sandals. I'm like, girl, you are an active ninja and you're wearing sandals. Because it looks like that's what she's wearing, sandals. And Sakura looks like half the time when she was active, she looks like she's wearing high heels, those boots. Try to make her think she's taller than Naruto, even though Naruto's taller than she is. Right?
Right.
And Ino was more open with herself when she got older. Because I believe that she started wearing like a half top. And she kept that with the current series. Which, fine. She's a lovely woman. She can do whatever the heck she wants. This because she's married and she's a mom. But the anime can see, I'm surprised no one is glaring at Sai like, Sai, you lucky dog. You got this beautiful woman as your wife? He's not like Ino's hot. All the Ladies Girl series, with the exception of Anka, we'll move on from that. So, mostly put basically for this chapter to just chatting about. Basically, you have Shikamaru and Konohamaru chatting about cubs related to the stuff with the wild tree stuff. And this conversation lasts a long time. This conversation lasts for 5 pages. And then finally we're back to the present day stuff, and then Konohamaru asks them their names. So the tall guy, his name is Ryu.
Yes.
Yeah. And the young one, the short girl. So I think his name was Missouri. The girl.
Matsubi or Matsuri or hold on.
Yeah, so she's like hiding. Is like, nice to meet you. And the course basically is like they're asking them to join forces to find Boruto. Basically doing here. And you have him saying, for reals? Now I'm thinking, wait a minute. He's made from a divine tree. How would he know about current slang like that? It seems like slang. Climb the area. Like.
Fun fact.
Go ahead.
Fun fact. The Senju also shares the same name as a filler character from, I'm not going to say filler character, but a character from the Hidden Stone Village during the 4th Great Ninja War.
Okay.
It's spelled the exact same way. So if you try to look it up, you might end up getting her instead.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like, you're Matsu, right? What's the matter? Am I feeling well? And I think he knows that she's blushing at him. Which to me, when I see, I'm like, wait, are they copying what Hinata did with Naruto?
I'm not going to say. Go ahead.
Remember in the dub, he described it as creepy, but. And the fact that it was later revealed that she was stalking him. Hinata was stalking Naruto.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
But she wasn't stalking him in a usual stalker way. She was admiring him from a distance, watching all his moves, and kind of in a way Naruto inspired her to compare ninja. So of all the Hidden 11, she's probably the most improved of all who actually had more inspired by Naruto than anybody else. You could say indirectly Naruto mentored her in a way in how to improve herself as a person. And the fact how their upbringing are very similar, but not exact.
I can see where you're coming from.
The fact they're both shunned from their own. Of course, he's like an outcast. He's like considered an outcast because he's got the Jurajiki. Mm-hmm. She's an outcast from her own clan because they named her a failure. That's why they named her sister, who's 5 years younger than she is, to be the heiress of the clan. So, and plus also, she's in love with him ever since he saved her from bullies. They explained in the last.
Yeah, but they changed that so many times. That's one of my biggest pet peeves with Naruto the Last. Because you want an organic way to have Naruto and Hinata come together, even though you had Sakura as the main heroine for a huge chunk of the show before the switch up. But don't try to make a whole rom-com out of it. You already had more than enough motivation with Hinata's own confession on one but 2 separate occasions and Neji's sacrifice.
And the thing is, Hinata has only hit Naruto twice the entire series.
In both instances, you could argue Naruto deserved it.
The first time is because in a filler arc where she punched him because she thought he was a fake because he wasn't carrying out this box that the mission was on. There are times she slapped him, but not like in a jerky way. It's like just like kind of like that.
Yeah, but
it was just to wake him up because Neji just died right in front of him, and she accepts the fact that he's dead. But Naruto took it harder than she did, given the fact that that's her cousin who's dead right in front of her, and yet Naruto's the one who takes him all harder than she does.
It ties back to their first fight with the concept of destiny and fate and the hand you were given. There was a much more deeper respect with Naruto and Neji, at least in terms of being comrades and camaraderie.
At least that he stopped being a dick to him after the tuning exam.
But whereas Hinata and Neji, they had a more brother-sister type relationship, even though they were technically cousins in context. Mm-hmm. And Neji briefly mentored her in improving her fighting style. Mm-hmm. So Hinata and Neji kind of had a mentor-mentee pseudo-sibling relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a topic for a
different stream. I think over time, because at the start of the series, Hinata's father just calmly disrespected her because he thought she was a failure. And then post time skip, he started to respect her because she started improving. And also she developed a good respect for Neji because it was shown in one of the flashbacks that he actually trained her in the Gentle Fist, but hers is like her Gentle Fist is not like his. Hers formed giant freaking tigers on her fist.
Yeah, all that proved is that Hinata was not as naturally gifted compared to the norm in the main branch. That's really all that proved.
Yeah, but at least shows the fact that she improved and the fact that she actually is a competent fighter.
And Hiyashi did have a bit of a chip on his shoulder after the settlement with the Hidden Cloud Village and his brother's sacrifice.
I would say it was more in line with his advisors were telling him than basically him deciding to do it.
Yeah, he never ordered, no, you're my twin brother, you're going to take my place. No, the advisors pretty much forced him to go through with it, and Hisashi volunteered. But Hiyashi still carried that guilt for over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm
also,
saying.
It seems like when it comes to diplomacy, he's like the go-to guy for being a diplomat for the village. It's like he constantly is negotiating something for the village. It's like, maybe because he's that good of a negotiator, that's why they have him do these missions, because in the last, he was sent to negotiate, which didn't go too well because he nearly died, but shows the fact he's a good negotiator. And from what I can tell, it looks like it seems like he's more inclined to basically make sure it benefits the village more than him in negotiations. That
is true. But yeah, from a nobility standpoint, Hiyashi was given a bad situation and had to cope the best he could given the circumstances. Mm-hmm. However, that doesn't give you a right to belittle your own child and essentially exile her in an attempt to save face.
And also, they show this. I think it was maybe an original episode where Naruto actually visited her bedroom once, but never went inside it. But he was at her window. Or somehow he snuck into the compound to see her because Sakura was with him. Which I'm like, that's interesting. And yet this is never mentioned at all. The fact this ever happened. And here's the weird thing. Aside from the third Hokage and Kashi, name one character who's actually been to Naruto's apartment. Besides those two.
Hiruzen, Kakashi, Iruka, Jiraiya, but that was when Minato and Kushina were living there.
Sakura has in his first apartment, not a second one. First one was destroyed during pain attack. Which I'm like, yeah. Which I think Third Hokage paid for that.
Yeah, but that was technically his inheritance because that used to be Minato and Kushina's apartment.
Yeah, because they actually had an actual house. Because I think the house that Naruto lives in, I think that used to be Minato's house.
Yes, that was the foundation, and then Naruto lived on the upper balcony. But yes.
Yep, and then the house he lives in, the Boruto, I think that was his parents' house originally.
Yes, it got rebuilt after the pain attack, but the upper balcony was completely destroyed. I guess Naruto didn't want it because it brought back too many bad memories.
And I think that later on he did get a different apartment, but after the apartment was destroyed, they never show him an actual apartment. Like, where did he live after the villages were built? Like, they never show his place except for the last. Because apparently he got a new apartment by the time the last came about.
He was probably crashing with Iruka during the rebuilding effort.
Probably. But a lot of the villagers live in tents. And that was thanks in part to pain. And the fact that one of the filler episodes brought back the the guy who Naruto bodyguard in part 1, which I thought was a really cool callback to that. Though it did lead to a really weird thing happening after that arc where Sasuke and Naruto were glued together. Remember that arc? For like one episode, they were glued together again. And they said to repeat episode 3 again with them doing that thing again.
Yep. But again, that's just a filler episode for a gag. That's really all that boiled down to.
Yeah, but I did enjoy seeing those two again because that was really nice. I think you could get back canon and most of that flashback canon, except that part where the other thing they repeat from the first episode. Everything else you could get canon. Or somehow the guy's henchmen somehow were still around. Despite the guy died. Zabuza murdered him.
In the manga, okay, I could say this now since we've crossed that threshold. In the manga, Zabuza cut Gato's head off. In the anime, he just slit his wrist. He gouged his throat. Excuse me.
But here's the thing: at the time, he did it holding a kunai in his teeth.
That is
because
true.
His arms were virtually. He couldn't move his arms. His arms were destroyed. So then he just basically wipes the floor with them, and then like he dies. And then, of course, okay, so Naruto summoned his Sharakulu Jutsu, and they have Kakashi summon his. Like, okay, we'll fight him. And then the village comes in and basically beat the crap out of all of them.
Like, but the majority of those henchmen did run away. A few did stand to fight Zabuza and were taken out, but majority of them did run away.
Yeah, and it was this weird thing like, oh, let's have Naruto go to the bathroom because of his drinking expired milk. Which, if the thing is expired, throw it away. Don't drink it. It's awful. It's disgusting. Meanwhile, though, back to the chapter. I know we keep getting distracted on other stuff. So we have this interesting moments like Muraki and Konohamaru just working together. It's like, leave it to us. That's the things in control. And of course, the other guy's like, yeah, I respect you all. He's our boss's man. Jura. Eyes into a slaughter any ninja run into. So I'm glad we spoke first. So, and then we see the girl who's part of Shiki's group. Do you remember her name?
Yodo, something like that.
I know she's a blonde, which I think they must have copied that from because the fact that when his father was active, his sister was part of the team, she's a blonde. So let's have a blonde girl part of the team who happens to be led by the son of the Kazakage. I think that was done purely because it's probably was mandated by Kishimoto. That probably had to be like that. But at least that the guy with him is not using puppets. I don't think he is. Do you remember he uses puppets at all?
Not that I know of, no.
So he does not puppet jutsu, but they probably had to line up, okay, Shiki with a guy and a girl. And the girl has to be blonde. So, and then I think this is more like when you have Konohamaru talking to Shikamaru here. I think it's more of a flashback prior to the other stuff because they don't show it's a flashback, but clearly it is. The way that the anime presents it, sometimes they would slightly alter the coloring of the scenes. You ever notice that when they do flashbacks?
I do.
Yeah. I would think if the anime adapted this, they probably would do that. To signify it's a flashback, because sometimes flashbacks in fiction are done very weirdly. Like, oh, let's have it where we actually have it where all the corners surrounding the image is fogged up. And like, oh, that's what we mean by it's a flashback, because of fog. Or do this weird flashback music. But that's how generally all things do flashbacks. But not in the case of Batman Begins. Remember that? Where he just like, oh, we have this scene. Oh, we have to go back to this scene. Also, back and forth. You can't really tell. It has a good story with it, but I kind of wish they edited it a little bit better than what they did in the movie.
I agree. Yeah.
I love the story Batman Begins, but the editing, it really hurts it.
But back to this. Then we transition to Kaj and Koji telling Boruto to not intervene, not get in the way.
So I'm thinking this could be a flash forward because I mentioned the fact that you had feelings for her because this could have been to get back at the village, maybe, or maybe debriefing. Not really sure. It's not really identified as a flashback, and they continue chatting for a while, and they come back to him. And of course, they chat, and she's very nervous around him. It's like, yeah, because of her feelings for him, and then we cut to Ada. 34 pages in, we finally see Ada. Haven't seen her in a bit. I think she was seen briefly last chapter, right?
Briefly. Very briefly.
And then we see she's worried about the guy who's inspired by a bug. Because Kaji Koji apparently is in her hair. I'm like, wait, so he has a toad with Shikamaru and with Ada? Interesting. And then we got the Kaji Koji sitting at a pillar with Barb sitting next to him. So we separated them. What happens next? Kamara keeps Missouri occupied. Don't lie to me. I asked you for a number. It's like the chance they fail. Just like when I'm already leaving Konoha, if you were able to take part in this battle, Joe would make his move. If that happens, we'll die this time. You are the only thing we cannot lose. And then we cut to Jura in the library. This is weird. Would you describe this as weird?
I agree it's weird.
A guy who's literally a divine tree and he's in a library made with books. Which they were from trees. And then the library is like, actually, no, it's not a library. It's a bookstore. I'm not surprised that Holy Village got a bookstore because if you think about it, they very rarely ever. I think they show a bookstore in Boruto like maybe once the entire series. I think Naruto has shown it never, as far as I can tell. Like, do you think of any time we see like a bookstore ever in Naruto? I've never seen a bookstore in any episodes of Naruto, Naruto Shippuden, or even the movies. No bookstore, except for one appearance because of that book that happened to feature Jiraiya's book about.
Just make out tactics.
Yes, a very adult book. That apparently sold better than the book that was inspired by that Naruto, the hero book. And the fact that he made a deluxe edition of that book and gave it to Kakashi before he died. Because Kakashi loves reading that book. And I'm like, he reads his books and he loves these books. He reads them so much. I'm like, then how come he couldn't get a girl all this time? Right?
Right. But Kakashi, I think by this point in Boruto, Kakashi's pushing 50. He's every bit 50 years old. Yeah,
I'm sure he can probably find a girl. I mean, here's the thing. Rob Van Dam, 50 years old. His current wife is 30. Katie Forbes?
Yep.
You ever seen her? Like when she does her thing with she loves to twerk.
I've seen it. We're trying to keep this PG. Nick.
Yeah, but that is a thing that some people like to do, and I'm like, okay, if you like step a girl, fine. I gotta admit, she's very pretty. They'll be on. So you have him buying books. I'm like, wait a minute. Where did this tree get his money from? Did Ko give it to him? So, and then we have a scene I think a lot of people really wanted to see. Kawaki confronting Mondo. He takes a cigarette. Let's look at info. And then he uses the thing and then he interrogates him about what he's done to him, like with the whole, the fact he gave back the car. He's finally confronting him because this is probably something people wanted to see since the series started. This confrontation. You think so?
I think so.
And that's how the chapter ends.
Yeah, sorry we were jumping around. Sorry we were jumping.
First, like we're going to draw out my powers full extent. Okay.
Now, Say what you will about this chapter, and I know we've been talking about in all these other places. We've been all over the place this week. But all in all, I feel like this chapter was an 8 out of 10. I mean, a solid start to Volume 5. Again, logistically speaking, we do not know commercially how these chapters are going to be packaged. So logistically, this is considered Volume 5 until we know otherwise, until we learn otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this was a good start to the volume.
It just the problem is a bit too much talking.
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely would have toned down the dialogue. I mean, the actual exposition with Shikamaru relaying Konohamaru the plan from Kajin Koji, you could have cut that down from 5 pages to 3, pacing wise.
Yeah, I mean, you can have that explained in the anime. You don't have to have here in the book. And also, I think the structure wise, this chapter was really odd. Like, oh, we have the scenes with Konohamaru, and yeah, he's talking about something that's already happened with Konohamaru and Maruki. I'm like, what is taking place? Is this before that scene? This is after that scene? It's not really very clear. There's never any establishing the fact that, like, oh, we have Konohamaru here just talking to Shikamaru. Of course, you don't know it's Konohamaru because the first time we see him, it's the back of his head. It looks like some random guy he's talking to at first.
Yeah,
I think the problem with this chapter is the structure.
I agree. And let me be clear. I am not the biggest fan of shipping. I've said that multiple times across multiple streams. I am not the biggest fan of it. I see it as a literary device, as a means to garner emotional investment to your audience. But from a consensus standpoint, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Now, with that being said, does that mean Sarada and her goal and her role as a protagonist been reduced to ship bait? No, because if anything, Sarada still wants to be Hokage. She still wants to redeem her father's honor after everything that happened with the Omnipotence, and she wants to help Boruto in some way. But all that is secondary to being Hokage. She's essentially what Naruto was in Shippuden. What's the point in striving and being Hokage if you can't save a single friend? If you can't even save a close friend?
As far as I can tell, when it comes to Sarada, she has no feelings for Boruto in a romantic sense. Mostly, she sees him closer like a brother than a romantic partner.
I feel like a good portion of the fandom just wants a repeat of Naruto and Sakura because I feel like they were baited, and maybe to an extent they were, but no, Naruto Sakura and the whole dynamic of Team 7, that was just a boyhood crush that was essentially a boy having a boyhood crush on a girl who only gave him the time of day out of circumstance and a little bit of pity.
Mm-hmm.
Boruto and Sarada are childhood friends. They'll be close regardless of whether they get together or not.
I would say it makes more sense to be with Susumori because I think in the case of her being attached to Baruch, makes a little bit more sense than Sadara because, well, I think that she probably over time fell in love with him. For Sadara, I think people are like, oh, she fell in love instantly. No, I don't think she has any desire to be with Baruto that way.
Again, they're childhood friends. They were on the same squad together. They went through multiple battles and experiences, through training and getting stronger.
The only thing I can see in the series, aside from maybe Susumori and Baruto, is Denki and Chocho. Because I think it's implied he may have a thing for her, but that's what I can tell from the anime. But it's never really been developed very much.
Wait. Denki and Chocho. That's what you're going with.
Yes, because I can tell he seems he kind of likes her.
Okay, I mean, all right.
Because I don't see him basically attracted to any girl in the series.
What about Tsubaki? No, wait, that was anime filler with the second tuning exam with Tsubaki. Okay, then
Tsubaki, I'm not really sure who you can see her, what guy with her. Well, the only guy I could think of, probably Wambi.
Iwabe because he's a brute.
Probably, and probably someone who probably could take her personality. The Cry Girl, not really sure.
Wait, are we talking about because there have, again, from what I remember from the anime, Wasabi and Iwabe used to argue all the time. Tsubaki's the girl from the hidden is the samurai from the Hidden Iron.
Yes.
Okay, so you were talking about Wasabi. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, those two butt heads all the time.
I don't know who she could end up with. Um, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. I mean, maybe Inogen.
I mean, Tsubaki barely interacts with anyone. I mean, outside of her team, and she's just a replacement for when Sumire transferred to the Ninja Corps to the science department to help set up the Owl arc.
I kind of wish some of your teams got developed in this series because the only team we kind of saw development for is Team 10, besides Team 7.
Yeah, Ina Chikachel, and that was kind of obvious. The
Yeah,
other,
but I would say the air teams they need development. The only team that kind of got development was a team that's mentored by Ibiki. You remember that team that Kakashi briefly took over, the one with the, the guy who was a big fan, Kashi?
with Hoki, the puppet girl, and I forget the other two's names. I just remember Hoki because he's a Kakashi fanboy. But yeah, that team.
Their sensei got injured, and then Iwambi. I'm thinking, wait, the interrogator is becoming their mentor.
Ibiki, yes.
Ibiki. I mean, that makes no freaking sense at all. The guy is a torturer.
I mean, they are studying covert and gathering intelligence.
Yeah, but torture? I'm sure he could probably train to be good intelligence operatives, but look at Dinky's team, for example. His team is more tech-based.
With the exception of Iwabe because he's a brute. But yes, the majority of them are tech, don't use chakra that much. Deki uses tech, Rock Lee uses type.
But the tech does work.
It does.
In the case of Boruto's team, they probably serve the same functions as original Team 7. Being frontline fighters.
Ina Chikacho always plays good support. Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
As for Susumi's team, aside from the fact it's our girls' team, not really sure about them, aside from the fact that they're just 3 girls. They probably picked them because, well, they were the only characters available. So that's probably why they picked them that way. But if you think about it, they've only had, 3 missions shown in the entire series, and it spans 1 episode?
Well, 4 if you're counting Sumire, who got when Sumire was still on the team when they got episode 50 just before the movie recap started. Or the movie.
I kind of wish that the other teams got something to do because Udon's team, I think they got 4 or 5 episodes.
4 or 5, I forget if I'm being honest.
And this I thought was interesting. It was during ninja exams where that team was up prior to the actually becoming a team because they had Iwambe and Dinky team up to save people from a fire. So you can tell by watching the episode that they were planning scenes for this team, though they added Metal Lee to the team because they need Metal Lee on a team. Even added later, but at least that team early on, kind of similar they did with Boruto and Mitsuke. They said to work together so they can have their teammate later on, but set them early on as a team.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't recall if it was them trying to arrive to receive their headbands, or if it was the Genin selection where they get assigned to their teachers. But I do remember, no, it wasn't that. It was during they were still in the academy. This was early on in the anime.
But we can definitely tell by this team, this two working together, this planted seeds for them to work together as a full team with this Metal Lee. They did this also with, of course, Team 10 was obviously set before the official team.
I mean, that's Ina Chikacho. That's obvious.
Yeah. Boruto and Mitsuke, aside from the fact it's in the movie, but they set this up during one of those obstacle course things. And I think because he must have saw the fact, we can get so much like these two work together as a team. So let's say establish you together and sign up for a different team before putting her on this team. I think the only reason I put her on a team with Bart is because their parents are part of the original Team 7.
Well, yeah, yeah. We don't know the team numbers for Team Jiraiya or Team Hiruzen, so yeah, we'll just assume.
Yeah. Minto's team, which is simply called Team Minto, they never had a number because it
Hmm.
was Kakashi, Ren, and Obito.
Yeah,
That was Team Minto.
Team Minato. But
Yeah.
I will say this though. This was a good chapter. The structure could have been a lot better. As for the anime, we might do a video on Boruto anime predictions. Me personally, unless you want to swamp it with a whole bunch of filler, I mean, me personally, I wouldn't even try. I would just go straight to Tubu Vortex and then adapt the Omnipotence arc as a flashback. That's what I would do.
I would first do the rest of the light novels first. That one's not been adapted. Do all those first because you still got to play material to do with some light novels because you got the Shikamaru one you can do as a flashback. You can do the Sasuke one as a flashback, or you can probably set before this stuff. Um, the Kakashi light novel, the one I said with the the Sasuke one, give that one a full adaptation and adapt the ending, the proper ending of the Shikamaru, the Sasuke one, and the Naruto and Orochimaru. Adapt all those books first, and also do some content, having the teams get some stuff to freaking do because I think one people's big problem with Boruto is that Boruto is focused on more than anybody else in the series.
I mean, yeah, you can. There is such thing as having a title character, but you can't have him hog too much of the spotlight. That's true in just about everything. I will not refute that.
Not in the case of Naruto. They at least gave the air characters screen time and development in the anime.
Now, Shippuden, it kind of became the Sasuke, Naruto, and Sasuke show towards the end, but that's because the majority of Konoha 12 were all, or Konoha 11, I should say, were already established and had their full, complete arcs. Shikamaru was growing as a leader. Ino was growing in stride, taking over her flower business. Choji was gaining more confidence in himself. Kiba was relatively stagnant. He didn't really have much of a motivation to begin with. Shino was developing comrades and friendships. Hinata was a kundere who wanted Naruto's affection, which that got dragged all the way to Naruto the last, but we're not counting that.
Mm-hmm.
And the only one outside of them who didn't have a full arc going into the pain arc onward was Sakura. When she already, and that got paid off in the war arc itself when she unlocked the 100
I would say a
years.
little bit with Tenten. She got a little bit of development prior to that.
Tenten got development. The most Tenten did in part one was getting curb stomped by Tamari in the Chunin exams. Then after that, she wields the six past weapons, and I mean, she got something, but
Well, she was actually involved with the very first arc of Shippuden.
Tenten.
Yes, the Kazekage rescue. She went with Sakura and Kakashi. Basically, her team went with Sakura, Kakashi, and Naruto. This is after they, had to do the bell test again. And then
Okay.
for the rescue, they went with them. And she got something developed. She actually got something to do. Which,
Okay.
prior to that, she did practically nothing outside the tuning exams.
Okay.
Like during the Sasashiva arc, it's like, oh, it's all the guys. And they explain the story because that was the fastest guys they can get their hands on quickly. I'm like, okay, Hanada may have been available because she was injured. You could have, I don't know, and Sakura couldn't go because she was too personally involved. But the one person you could have been involved with this is Tenten. But
I mean,
it's like the first performance they went to was Naruto because it was Tsunade's first request to keep on the team. Choji was personally picked by Shikamaru because they're on the same team. And Shino and Kiba were just happily walking about and just happened to run into them. I'm like, okay, there's all your guys. And I'm like, okay, so you couldn't get Ino or Tenten on this? They're perfectly fine after the Chunin exam.
Ino does know how to utilize mind jutsu, so she definitely would have been helpful. Hinata was too injured. Sakura was personally involved, and depending on how you interpret, she had completely lost. Because after she choked when convincing Sasuke, after she regained consciousness on that bench, she realized she choked in her resolve to prevent Sasuke from leaving, and she was just devastated after that.
But he could have found a way to get quickly Ino and Tenten somehow. You could have had Kiba go out to get them. I'm sure Kino probably knew where they lived. At least Kino probably knew where Ina lived because probably they're next door neighbors. 1010, they didn't really establish where she lived in the village. I know she lived in the village. They could easily find her, and of course, they happened to run into Rock Lee just by sheer coincidence. Actually, he was injured, but he joined later on.
Yes, because he was still recovering after Tsunade's miraculous surgery to save his shinobi career after getting nearly handicapped by Gaara.
Which also, she got help with the stuff with that thanks to Chikamaru, thanks to his family's work with deers. Which that clan is like, they never really identify exactly, aside from the fact they come from a line of geniuses. They never established his father as a genius, though Shikamaru is, and his son's genius too. It's like the whole thing is their thing with deers. I never really understood that at all. Like, are they supposed to protect deers? Like, what exactly did I mean? Choji's group is food calories. Okay, Ino's clan is basically all about using the mind jutsu, which I love the scene when they had her during the Fourth Ninja War, where the first Hokage asked, "Is anybody here use the mind jutsu?" And Ino's like, "I can," because she was there. And that was a Komodo part because her father was off in headquarters, and she was probably like the only person her clan was probably close by.
But let me ask you this, Nick. What is a weapon specialist going to do against the Sound 4 with curse mark transformations? Unless she has a sealing jutsu on hand and she can even use it properly in a combat scenario, what is 1010 gonna do?
She does know taijutsu.
I mean, yeah, she can hold her own in a scrap, but the moment they use their curse form, she's done for.
Yeah, but they could at least use her somehow.
Fair. All right. Fair point.
Yeah, but I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking what, they couldn't contact their senseis? Were they not available?
I think the anime explained it. I don't know about the manga, but the anime explained it that Tamari gave Shikamaru a 1 hour window to recruit a full team. And outside of special requests, like you mentioned, that was the best lineup he could find in an hour.
Though he could have had Naruto use Shadow and Juice to give everybody, because I'm sure he's a. If I can tell, Naruto's a fast runner. He's like one of the fastest runners in the village. If I can tell, he's not slow. He's really fast. He could have easily use Shadow and Jutsu, find everybody else quickly, and get them quickly as possible. Just get to this one gate in as quick as you can. Could have done that. But my guess, Kishimoto must have been struggling for time with this arc in the manga. The anime was probably, because I've done this also in my reviews, if you want to blame something for the anime, the fault of something, it's either the anime's fault or it's the manga's fault. If something is not there, it's probably because they weren't featured there. Like a certain character. Because not in the source material. So if I blame somebody not being there, blame the source material. Don't blame the anime. I kind of started this with the whole thing with Goblin Slayer. Because people chastise the anime for opening up the rape scene. And the thing is, it's not the anime's fault the fact they had to have that in there. That was in the original book. So if you want to blame somebody, blame the original writer. It's his fault. He put it in there. The animators probably put it in because it's part of the story.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the anime added a disclaimer leading up to that scene, like in the opening credits. They didn't.
They did for season 2 when they recapped the scene, but now season 1, nope. But here's the thing: Scarlet World also had an attempted rape scene, but at least it's a trigger warning ahead of time about it. Because I think that the studio must have heard about the backlash related to that. And this was, okay, we had this scene in the book. Okay, we're putting the anime, but we're making sure a trigger warning ahead of time because they didn't want to see criticism like a Goblin Slayer did.
Yeah, Goblin Slayer got a lot of heat for that.
I mean, it was a good series aside from that. It was a fantastic series. Yeah, they did adapt book 2 out of order. They did something kind of weird. They had the first half book 1 and then just went straight to book 2 and then just came back to that rest book 1. I thought that was so weird for adaptation possibly, and from anime perspective, look really good from the anime perspective. Look good, a lot of good fight scenes. For some reason, season 2, they skipped book 3 and book 4, and it went straight to book 6 because the movie died book 5. Even though they did partially that book 4 for one of the episodes. They skipped over 2 books for that one, and then they just adapted for season 2. They did the books 6, 7, 8 in 12 episodes, which they did a fair adaptation. I think was terrible.
Yeah.
So may tend to be anime tends to be accused of rushing adaptation. Of course, the worst of this was Tokuguri. That kind of the worst. Adapting 179 chapter manga in 24 episodes. That was stupid of Herod's part. And I heard a rumor recently that we might get a remake of that, of the original Google series.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that.
The first season is fantastic. I love the first season of Google. That was amazing. Heck, I love the movie. The movie is one of those rare things where a movie that's adapted from an anime that's actually good. Because a lot of the time, these movies tend to be just awful. Like, the studios just don't care. It's like, when people think of adaptations, people think of Dragon Revolution. And I'm like, did the writer not read? Apparently, the writer of the script never read the manga or watched the anime. He just got a vague description. And the other ones I've seen have been good has been Rurouni Kenshin and Tokyo Ghoul. Yeah, we actually talked about that. Timmy mentioned about the Vigilantes one. We talked about that before the stream went on. And I'm quite happy it's getting adaptation. I would have thought they would have waited after the anime concluded, but they were just before the final season.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to build up numbers and momentum because now that they know My Hero Academia is over, they're going to lose a lot of momentum, especially because for some reason people didn't see Deku versus Ochaku coming. Yeah, they weren't high school sweethearts. They graduated, they established their respective hero/teacher careers. I know I'm spoiling the ending, but the ending's been out for almost a month now, so I might as well just give you the clip notes.
It came out 3 months ago.
Thank you.
August.
The updated version does at least allude to Ochaku like catching up with Deku and them kind of like holding hands, starting something. But yeah, they did not get together in the original main finale. No.
Yeah, they never showed them get together, but from what I can tell, it was built up over the course of the series, from what I can tell. They did build it up. Yeah, that was correct. Aside from that, of course, we had La Bravra and Gentle Criminal, which some might think will look at, she's like 12 years old. No, she is like 18. Except she's really short. And her feelings for Gentle Criminal were genuine. And by the end of the series, he was already 40 by the time the series ended, because I think when they first met, he was like pushing 30 when they first met. Which some think, like, is he like committing like breaking the law? Not really, because I could tell that they didn't probably do anything until she was a consenting adult. Of course, this is Japan. Japan is different from us, so don't criticize the anime, and please not criticize the Japanese culture because that's what they do over there. It's this thing they do. It's a culture. We have no right to judge how they live their lives in our country. Yes, he did. And his English sub actor did an amazing job in the series. I don't remember who voiced it, but he did a really good job in the series. I loved what the guy did.
But as for me,
he seemed like he had a lot of fun voicing the character.
Yeah, I feel like that was the appropriate way to go, all things considered, because even with all the shipping wars and then like some and everything going on in that series, believe it or not, MHA fandom is toxic. Like it gets really bad. But
I'm not involved with that. I'm a fan of it. I'm not involved with the fandom.
But all that aside, like you had to see this coming.
I would say the only relationship I could see to get a little bit built up, aside from Deku Ochaku, was probably Pinky and Red Riot. Kind of a little bit.
What about the kid Roshi? I always called him that kid Roshi because I do remember him essentially getting shocked. Not, how can I say this without getting demonetized? Okay, you know who I'm talking about? The one who throws like purple Hewitt Merritt. What's his name? Nick, you know who I'm talking about?
Um, Trying to think. I can't think of any major characters who actually use ice bars aside from Shudo in the series. Miners? Oh, Menta.
Menta, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, he himself was. Let's just say he didn't act his age in the series. And I have heard that the reason why they show his room in the series because it's has pictures of women with no clothes on. That is why I've heard the Scribe Data book about his room. Frobby's room was frogs because she's a frog. I'm surprised that and Baka never showed his room because he fell asleep.
Yeah,
and the only character who had the most no room was Ochaku.
Mm-hmm. And I also saw some people thought Deku becoming a teacher was annoying. No, if anything, at least in Japanese culture, becoming a teacher or mentor is a revere of great respect. And if Deku loses his access to All for One, then becoming a teacher / mentor is the most idealistic next step until he gets his exosuit and becomes an Iron Man figure in a potential sequel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I've heard the writer call it My Hero Academia 2 Electric Boogaloo. Which I still think is funny. Electric Boogaloo. Sometimes Electric Boogaloo.
But yeah, I don't see My Hero Academia getting an expansion because the mangaka for My Hero was completely burnt out the past year and a half. If he does commission get a sequel series serialized, it's going to be years down the line.
I have heard he's doing new manga, but it's not released yet.
I think even All Might got a exosuit in the last arc.
Yeah, he did to fight All for One. Which when he first showed up, a lot of people compared him to Darth Vader. And there's no denying, the actors on My Hero, they clearly enjoy playing their characters. They love it. Though I have heard that Cliff Champ, the guy who voiced Bakuto, his voice does hurt after a while when he does all his screaming he does in the series. I heard the worst it came when they dubbed one of My Hero Academia video games. Ooh. Because Kathos mentioned this in one of his streams, that he had to do more screaming for the game than he did in the show. And he nearly lost his voice because of it. At least with the last season, that I don't think they announced another movie coming. All I announced was just a season, no movie. Which I think I think we're good with the 4 movies we got.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing: the last one I think it was better than the previous movie because it made total sense for this movie to exist. Because the placement of this, you can play this before the final war stuff, because Deku's still wearing the scarf, and they didn't mention they needed to save the people's energy for the fight for All for One. That was mentioned by the principal in the movie. So this movie is clearly set before that particular arc. And because you can see that if anyone watched the anime, Endeavor lost a limb during the final battle. He lost one of his limbs. Because in the movie, he's perfectly fine. Well, in the show, he when this came out, he already lost one of his limbs. And a little fun fact, 2 of the characters in the movie actually are canon characters, and they debuted in the main series. Just prior to this, a quick cameo. In the same episode, they also feature Like they brought in like Melissa Shield, a supporting character from the very first movie. They brought her in, and the three kids from the second movie.
Yep.
Like I'm glad they brought those characters in because look, these are great characters. One thing at least got to have the first movie over the last movie that came out, Warhead's Mission, was a lot more interesting. And I did read that Dark Might is also voiced by Chris Sabat as well. Which, that kind of makes sense. Because Dark Might's evil version himself. So, I love everyone's reaction to the fact, like, what's All Might doing here? And, well, they know the fact that's not All Might. At least they're not fooled by the fact that he may look like All Might, but he's not All Might. I at least appreciated, though, the writers of the movie. I appreciate they not write the heroes to be stupid. Because in situations like this, what usually happens? They see someone they're familiar with, and like they're just like oblivious to what's going on with the character. Yeah, that was something that built up since season 1. Who the traitor was. Who the traitor was, I remember reading the manga, I was kind of surprised about it. Though we do finally get a chance to see Invisible Girl, what she actually looks like. Which they did kind of show her fully, but they had her censored. Because she apparently when she's super, she doesn't wear anything but gloves.
You're really gonna get me demonetized one of these days, Nick.
Well, that's the manga cover showed.
But, I will say this though. All in all, this was a pretty decent chapter. Mm-hmm. Now, if you this was a pretty decent chapter. But all in all, the structuring, I definitely would have cut the expedition back down a page. We're going to wrap up with this last segment, anime predictions. Like, just nothing's been officially announced. Nothing's been confirmed. If you were to, like, what would you want to see other than what we've already talked about? What else would you want to see in the anime's return? I'll argue if they go straight for Two Blue Vortex. Nick will argue more content with light novels and giving the rest of the new gen something to do. Nick, you go first.
Aside from that, I would give some stuff to not just new characters, but develop some older characters we haven't seen in a while. Because some of the older characters we don't see very much in the series, like for example, Kiba. Give him a story arc in the series. Nothing wrong with giving him one. Or do a flashback story arc where they adapt the Gar light novel. We have Gar just sitting in his office and he just has a flashback to the whole arc. You can do that. I mean, there's a lot more material you can do there. You can also give the older character something to do, aside from newer characters. Get them some development because, like, Orochimaru featured other stuff. Tevia. He's usually featured some supplementary material like light novels because Boruto has only featured him like maybe once
in the Akuta arc, and in the Naruto Gaiden arc.
And he was also featured heavily at the start of Mitsu's appearance.
Yeah, that's the Akuta arc.
Yeah, I've also heard of her as Mitsu's appearance. The thing with that is that I'm surprised that Orochimaru did put two and two together that Boruto was Naruto's son, the man who he fought many times in the Naruto series. I mean, he basically put out the fact that Sakura is Sasuke's daughter. He looked at her like, yeah, you're Sasuke's daughter. He knows who her parents are, but not exactly with Naruto with Boruto. Did you notice that?
Yeah, he could tell that Boruto resembles his father, but he surprisingly doesn't know who Naruto ended up with.
Yeah. In the case of Sakura, yeah, he knew right away because she kind of looks like mother.
Sarada, in terms of personality, Sarada is a balanced mix of her parents in terms of personality.
And also, they mentioned Karin, which of course they didn't officially meet until prior to episode 100.
Yep.
Which it's almost like the way she is to her. She's almost like a second mother to her. Where at first, basically, she didn't think she was related to Sakura, given the fact of her glasses. But then found out, nope, she's just a midwife for
when Sakura gave birth to her.
Yes. As for why she wears the glasses, I think it's because of her eyesight, maybe because she was born with some bad eyesight. It could be because of the Sharingan. They don't really go into detail very much of why she wears glasses. As for why she wears the type of same glasses as Karin, probably because Karin made the glasses for her
as a gift, and Kishimoto, wanted to be a troll, mate. But you gotta understand, I don't know how people could even fall for that because when the war rolled around, they were 16 to 17 years old. And they were in the middle of a war while also being considered war criminals. They wouldn't have had time to do anything. And even after the infant Tsukiyomi was undone, Sasuke was sealed and imprisoned for a year before his lifetime probation, excuse me.
I'm sure at some point that he made visits to the village. That's why Sakura gave birth to Sadara.
No, I'm referring to Sasuke and Karin because there was a huge storm when Gaiden was coming out. And I'm like, come on, Kishimoto's just trolling us again, guys. It's obvious. Like, Sasuke and Karin only interacted outside of Team Heavy a couple of times.
And here's the thing. Indirectly, she's Naruto's cousin. They're a clan. But here's the thing. Boruto has only seen her once in the arc related to Jugo, which I did hear they replaced his dub actor for Boruto. Not sure why, but they did. His was like the only one I've heard they actually replaced his dub actor for Boruto. Everyone else pretty much stayed the same. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. Like, why would they change his dub actor for? He's still the same character. His voice sounds a little different on the new voice actor, but there's no real reason why they changed it. The whole arc was due to the curse mark infected to animals. That was the whole thing with that arc. I did appreciate, though, the fact he had Team 7, and Tsusuru's team working together with Team Hibiki, well, what remains of them, in this story. And it was a recurring gag with Karin where, like, every time that the guy from the Hidden Mist Village, the guy who turns the water.
Not Mizuno. Suigetsu.
Well, like, every time he shows up, Karin has to punch him in the face.
Yeah, that's just about a running gag at this point.
Is that basically them having to copy the interaction between Naruto and Sakura with that?
Yeah, it's the same gag, but they don't use it nowhere near as often. And
also, he's not in love with her.
No, they're if anything, they're more like siblings, constantly bickering at each other.
Yeah, and her whole thing is that she's sort of a medical ninjutsu, except she has a thing for how people bite her skin.
She's a healer, but she never properly learned how to utilize jutsu, at least at the time. So in order to extract chakra for healing, it was a whole thing. It's really dark in context, but it's basically to where they had to.
Her arm is covered in bite marks, and at first she only liked it when Sasuke did it, and then eventually she was forced to have Sanaya do it because Richard told her to do it.
Yeah.
And yet these guys, they hang out with each other even after the war wrapped up. I would have thought they would have got home to their villages. I mean, Kairi had no village left to go home to, but the other ones could have gone home because I'm sure probably they would welcome home open arms, so probably because of the war. But nope, they just stuck around with Orochimaru as his lackeys.
Well, Suigetsu lost his chance at glory for the seven swords, and even with that, including fighting a reanimated version of his own brother. Well, he didn't really play a role in the war in that part, but he's still going to be associated with his brother. Not to mention all the reforms and reformations from the war. It just wouldn't have been the same blood mist village he was abducted from, so there'd be no point in adjusting.
I would say Kairi would probably be very welcome in the Hidden Leaf Village, given fact she's from the same village as Naruto's mom.
Well, she reside. I don't know if Karin ever had any memories from being in the Hidden Rain, in the land Well, basically their territory before.
I've heard it's called Eddie's or Way. I think it's village of Eddie's. I think it's called the village she's from, because it's the same village that Naruto's mom was from.
Yes.
Because the red hair and the fact she gets very angry, like I think in Minto basically, I think it was Minto or it was first Kage pointed out though, like I think it was Minto pointed out like, man, she reminds me so much. I think actually no, he did that with Sakura when she first showed up, where he's like, man, she reminds me so much of my wife. And I think that I think first Kage pointed this out though. Actually, or second Kage, where she's like, she's like almost like an Uzumaki. I think he pointed out, one of those two pointed out when it comes to Kairi because of her anger because she was in the village. And so once Sasuke didn't know she was in the village, she had no idea. I don't think he gave a damn.
He really didn't because because you got to realize she was in Konoha custody literally since the Kage 5 Kage summit.
I would say she's been there maybe 2 weeks, maybe. Because the war took place over the course of like 3 days.
Yeah.
And war, I think the build-up, I think in story, it looks like it took place in place of like 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe.
She wasn't in Konoha custody very long.
Yeah, if I were them, one thing that the series never cashed in on is having her interact with Naruto. They never did. The only time they ever kind of shared screen together is in a post-credit scene, one of the episodes, where she looked at him but never spoke to him.
I mean, there wouldn't even be a relation there because they're distant cousins, but Karin has no memory of the Uzumaki lifestyle nor the Uzumaki, the land where the Uzumaki reside before their clan was largely wiped out. Kushina might have memories of it, but she was a little girl at the time. Before she was taken in to be a replacement Jinchuriki for me.
I think they mentioned the village was destroyed, and I think they said I don't think it was a ninja attack. I think it was a natural disaster that destroyed the village.
I will have to research that, but as I was saying,
they mentioned that in one of the flashbacks.
I'll look back over. Don't worry, but because Hashirama's wife Miyoto Uzumaki, Miyoto, I forget. She was the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails before she transferred the power, before she ended up going on the verge of dying of old age and transferring the power to Kushina.
I think officially there's been about 3 or like 3.5 because Mento was also host of that too. But before the first Kage's wife had it, there has never been an official record of anybody who hosted that particular creature before she did.
It was her. Then Kushina, after she was abducted, after she was taken in, after the fall of the Uzumaki clan, before Kurama was transferred over to her. Then the seal was weakened when she was on the verge when she was pregnant and giving birth to Naruto. Then Minato used the Reaper Death Seal to split the Nine Tails and transfer half of it into Naruto himself, and then Naruto from then on.
Yep, and I believe I'm trying to remember. I think it was. Prior to her giving birth, Minko ordered Kakashi to watch her for a whole month.
Wait, I thought it teased that he was assigned to watch her for the majority of the pregnancy.
Yeah, I think it was around that period of time, just to keep an eye on her. And I think that she wouldn't have minded, given the fact that it was his student watching her. Yeah, I'm sure he probably was looking after her, not because the whole thing with the revocations with the judging. I don't think it had nothing to do with it. I think because he's worried about his wife's health, and he's basically needs to keep an eye on her because he's busy running the village. That's probably the reason why he did it. Do you think so?
Yeah.
He's a caring husband.
And Tevia, yes. Okay. Naruto ended up Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails because Minato used the Reaper Death Seal to seal half of its chakra between Naruto's infant body and Minato himself when he was on the verge of death.
And the Death Reaper Seal took his soul inside of him and took also the first Hokage as well, eventually. Later on, they explain this in the Chunin exam arc, where the third Hokage used the Death Reaper Seal on himself and the first Hokage, which this was the first instance of reanimation jutsu ever in the series. They ever show this. Until it became basically a major thing during the Fourth Ninja War, where they revived a whole lot of people. Not just characters in the series, but there was one episode where Kabuto just oh, here's some extras I just basically had lying around. One of them happened to be a bully of Tamari's. Remember that?
I remember that.
That was a weird episode. It's like, oh, we have these random people. And one knew Tamari, and everyone else are just random people. At least one of them, even though he was anime original, at least there was a story involving him. It was the guy who, not Hanzo, it was another guy that Naruto knew, who was involved because it was mentioned by Sorcery that he wanted to destroy a nation with his puppets. And it may have been this very country he destroyed. And this kind of explanation for that, but at least this one, even though he was anime original, it was a story involving him. The bully, it just, oh, you used to bully me. Okay.
Well, the bully kind of had a crush on Tamari. It was a whole gag, but
I appreciate though that some of these animation YouTubes actually, exception of that one, the one they show in the series actually had some story with them. Like Hanzo with apparently he knew the leader of the Land of Iron. I'm like, that was interesting. Yeah, he knew him. And he had a really good fight too.
Yeah, Mifune and Hanzo were bitter rivals. Mifune barely won that duel.
Yeah, and this was like their rematch, and he won. And I think when I get to it, looks like he probably returned to Afterlife after because it looked like he wasn't sealed like a lot of the other ones were.
No, he returned to the Afterlife peacefully. Like he was at peace.
Yeah, and the funny thing with the four Kage they summoned, which was like four. Okay, so they summoned Gaara's father, who looks exactly like him, which that does happen, believe it or not, or sons look like their fathers, except it was Gaara looks like his father, not Conqueror. A's father, which, yeah, it's obviously him.
The second Tsuchikage, the second Mizukage.
Yeah, it was second one because third one was the host of the Jurgi, which you ever showed them already in with the whole
Yagura.
The dead ones, yes. I felt as though two of them basically had a reason to like each other, but the other two, like Gaara's father is like, yeah, he was after them. He like really read about them. He never officially met them until this very scene, which was a cool scene. And like, oh yeah, and during his fight with his own son, oh, you became Kazakage. Okay. I kind of wish Gaara interacted with them a little more prior to this, and then you have one of the Razakages defeated by Naruto by poking right in that scar he's got. That he was so embarrassed that he refused to mention how he got that scar. It just happened during a battle with the Ninetales. I'm like, really? You fought the Ninetales? I'm like, this is interesting. And they showed it in the anime. I thought it was really cool. And then he's sealed. Like the Mazakage, they kept poking his mustache. The anime which that was so funny. And they called the second Tazakage, oh look, it's the mummy man. The mummy man. Because he's like a freaking mummy.
Yeah, the second Tsuchikage and second Mizukage, they hated each other.
And they killed each other. Yeah. But I love the jokes that they gave those two. But I kind of wish someone had told the second Mazakage, hey, did you know the current person who has a job as a hot lady? I'm sure you'd be like, Because you know, got a mustache. I'm sure you probably were like, cool. I'm sure you probably have no problem because it's never shown that these guys basically hated they like ladies very much, but I think he would have laughed at that.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that kind of bleeds into Boruto a little bit because Yagura is a lot older than he looks. Like Yagura died, was captured relatively young, but he was old enough to sire a child if Boruto is anything to go by. Yeah,
and I'm like, did he somehow meet his grandfather? Because Kagura is, I think he's supposed to be about a few years, I think he's supposed to be about a decade older than Boruto.
Yeah. At least 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. I know he's older. And he was set to succeed the current Mazakage, who was Chotaro. And there was a minor gag in the series where a lot of time early on when he saw the Mazakage Mei, he would blush. Because it was implied he had a crush on her, despite the fact she's like about, I think, like 13 years older than he is. Because I think at the time she was 32.
Yes.
And people thought she was old. Despite the fact that's not old.
Well, for Shinobi, the average life expectancy was anywhere between 20 to 25.
Yeah. But I think the whole gag of people poking fun at her age, I thought that was kind of funny. It didn't show up very much in the series, but I'm glad that it just made it so funny. And the fact she kept telling Ao to shut up. And then she told Killer Pete to do that too. But never the Chotro. She never scolded Chotro in the series. I think because she kind of knew that he had a thing for her, but never anywhere. And one thing I noticed though is that when it first showed up her when they went to him in Miss Village arc, she's constantly around him a lot.
Well, Chodro was probably. We don't know when Chodro was inaugurated. We just know that he was under her. He was directly being mentored by her to be who would go on to be the current Mizukage.
I'm sure he was there as an advisor, or she probably married him. That's the only two options I could think of why she's around him. But hey, she looks good for her age. I think she's like, because I've been 15 years, so I think she must be
49. She's every bit 49.
Yeah, 49, but looks good for her age. I like Tsunade, who should be looking her age, especially since she's like 70. But she looks like her 20s because of that juice she keeps casting herself. At least looks his age.
Not to mention Hamura and Kohora should be almost Anoki's age, and Anoki was almost over 100.
Yeah. I mean, look at, let's say, Kakashi. Despite him pushing 50, he does not change at all. Like, age-wise. Like, appearance, he is not... Like, physical appearance, he has not changed. Like, I don't see wrinkles on the guy. And he doesn't look... I mean, his hair has always been white. But he doesn't look old. Despite him being retired, he looks like he keeps in shape. My guy does the same thing too. He looks like he keeps in shape too. I'm like, what is his role in the village?
My guy is just a veteran just basking in his retirement in the power of youth. So I think my guy's just chilling most of the time.
And he's always in a wheelchair. Well, there's a reason why he's in a wheelchair. Because he used the 8th gate.
Yep, he survived the 8th gate, pushed Madara to his physical limit. Granted, let's remember that physical limit, not jutsu or anything like that. And the only reason that my guy survived this is because Naruto was given 6 past powers, which Naruto used to resuscitate him.
Yes, and I'm surprised that, because I remember mentioning early on in the original series that he was going to write this lengthy book about his life. I don't know if he did or not. I would think because he retired, he would have time to become a writer. And I'm sure he probably had, because he mentioned he keeps bragging about all these glorious battles he had over the years. The fact that his father fought the 7 swordsmen.
And took out majority of them.
Yeah, he took it all but Zabuza. I think it was Zabuza, Kaku's, his predecessor to the one who has his sword. I think it was like one more.
Yeah, the guy who had the executioner played before Zabuza and 2 others.
Yeah,
the one the wielder of Kiba, the lightning blades, before he fell off a cliff in the Naruto filler, and
which made canon, by the way. They made canon, which I was surprised they made canon. Were you?
Somewhat, but and it took because I remember the field trip arc, and I'm like, Kiba, the lightning blade, the lightning blades, and I'm just like, oh, this is Kiba's kid. Yeah, he fell off a cliff in a Naruto filler episode.
He died twice in that arc.
Yeah, I don't even think Naruto directly fought him. I think he just fell to his death.
He did fight him. He did fight him in the arc, but for some reason his daughter went after Sadara. But the thing was, her mother wasn't there. Her father was off Orochimaru. So I didn't get exactly why she had a beef with Sada when she first showed up in the series.
I think they wanted to pair it as 2 girls, both who have fatherly or daddy issues squaring up, because otherwise it just would have been Kiba versus Boruto. and she thought that Boruto was just too much
I
of a.
think of Kiba as the one part of the Hidden Leaf 11. This was a different guy.
Yeah, but yeah, at least from the dialogue leading up to her fight with Sarada, she just thought Boruto was just a brat, not worth her time.
Despite the fact that he's the son of the man who murdered her father.
Allegedly, even though, I mean, Naruto didn't even technically kill the guy. He just fell to, again, he fell to his death.
And then he came back to life thanks to his kid that he carried around on his back. And then he fought again, defeated him. And I'm like, okay, so he kept the swords with him. Did Naruto mail those swords back to Hidden Mist? Because I'm like, how did the Hidden Mist even get those swords back? Because they were with the swords when he died. Zabuza, I think he was buried in the area near the Hidden Mist because they show his grave.
Yeah, the Land of Waves is kind of like a trade outpost before you get to Land of Water territory. And since the Executioner Blade was memorialized as Zabuza's tombstone, they just left it. They left it there for a while out of respect until it was recovered.
Yeah, but as for the other ones, like there's one that had a needle, which I'm like, prior to showing up in the fourth Ninja War, I never saw the weapon before. Because they never had our focus in that weapon. It just the only weapon we saw was the Executioner Blade, which, by the way, they never named it in the original story. That was named in the in when he returned in the fourth Ninja War, because originally he just was Zabuza's big blade.
Yes.
It never had a name. It got a name later on, which it's a very fitting name for a big sword. And the other swords we saw was the lightning blades and the shark scale one.
Samehada.
Yeah. And that was the sword we saw in the whole series. And then later on, of course, they show in flashback the other swords. But we never saw any of the other 7 swords when they were alive.
No, because the majority of them were killed by Mai Dai when he used the 8th gate to sacrifice himself in the in the second in this 3rd Great Ninja War, not the second. It was in the 3rd Great. Was it? Or do I have them backwards?
Second, because my guy fought in the third one and the 4th.
Okay, all right, Mike Dai. Yeah,
as for the sharks one, Shibahara, Killer Bee got the sword, kept the whole war, and then somehow I was confused of when am I get it back, and then I read online, oh, he gave it back to village as a parting gift after the war.
Oh, now I remember. Okay, Might Dai killed all of them except the one who wielded the Executioner Blade before before Zabuza. Another one, the Kiba the Lightning Fangs, and the one who wielded Samehada. The previous wielder of Samehada was killed by Kizame in a direct confrontation before being recruited by Obito. Whether Kizame, it's implied Kizame poisoned him rather than unalived him in a direct confrontation, but it's not clear.
Yeah, and he was a big guy too. The guy he was like a big chunky guy.
Yeah, but other than those 3, Might Dai took down the majority of the 7 swordsmen.
Which I'm sure that probably, if Mike Guy wrote his book, he probably would bring that up, the fact that his father was a badass. With that beginning. Yeah, his father was a Genin. He never was promoted. Nope. I'm like, really? I think it's because all he knew was taijutsu.
Yeah, and he was a bit of a meathead to where he couldn't. Because the purpose of the Chunin exams is not how many jutsu you could spam. It's your ability to adapt and utilize intelligence in combat situations to potentially lead those combat situations, pass or fail, to ensure a mission success. Might Dai, for all intents and purposes, was a meathead.
They didn't mention he knew any jutsu, just say he knew a lot of taijutsu.
Yeah, he he had no physical talent for ninjutsu. That's true. But the issue wasn't, and despite the norm of ninjutsu and Might Dai, Guy, and Rock Lee to a lesser degree not being as gifted, it doesn't change the fact that Might Dai was a meathead even by that norm.
And here's the weird thing. After his father died, Might Guy, I think he wore his father's scar briefly when he was younger and then stopped wearing it when he got older. I think he gave it to Rock Lee. And then Rock Lee's sons got it.
So you think he kept it as kind of a rite of passage?
Yes. Though he's wearing the same suit that Rock Lee is not wearing in the series, the green suit.
Probably similar training attire.
Which, okay, so in the case of Rock Lee, now apparently Tenten and Neji were offered these particular outfits, but they said no. Rock Lee was the only one who accepted it, and Naruto got one too, and he actually wore it in one episode. Yep. And then he stopped wearing it because he probably felt as though it looked kind of weird for him to wear it inside of his own outfit, because it looked like he was wearing tights. But the best thing about the outfit, it basically, being tight, it didn't constrict him. Like, it didn't constrict his movements. And for Rock Lee, he was constantly training. Yeah. Like, there's one episode, he started a freaking dojo out of nowhere. So he could fight people.
Though it's never confirmed who Metal Lee's mother is. Some say it's Rock Lee and Tenten, who had a bit of a thing to cope with Neji's death after the war, but broke it off afterward. Others saying Rock Lee got with a random civilian girl.
Yes. Though, I'm curious, like, okay, so they never really mentioned the series. Who is my guy's mother? Probably some random girl.
Yeah, some random village girl. But yeah, there's
they never show him ever with the girl. It's like he's never been interested in women at all. He just basically all talk about his fighting. All about his fighting. And constantly trying to be Kakashi's alleged rival. Kakashi just like, whatever.
Yeah, but he did earn Kakashi's respect over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever an advisor for Kakashi. Like, in the stories I've read where Kakashi was there, that guy was just there, but he wasn't an advisor. He just was there for the ride.
Yeah.
Like Kakashi Light novel, which focused on him fighting people on a blimp, and my guy being John McClane. Which I thought was so awesome, the fact they basically did this. Like, they have him crawling in vents in the ventilation system on this blimp to basically fight the bad guys of the story. And this book would make such a good story in the anime. Or a movie. You know how epic it was. It was a short book. And Naruto was featured very briefly in the book. Like, at the beginning. And it's all Kashi after that.
And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad... I mean, Kakashi Hiden... No, wait, not Kakashi Hiden. It was... Yeah, Kakashi Hiden. Kakashi Hiden, Naruto Hiden, and Sasuke Hiden. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I got the right
one associated with the original series, the one that also had the soccer one?
Yeah, Retsuden. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Kakashi Retsuden, I'm confusing. Okay. Kakashi Retsuden is the one where they were is the overarching trilogy to help with Naruto's chakra illness. Konoha, Kakashi Hiden is the one where he has that tragic romance with an ice user who becomes warden of one of the blood prisons.
And this was just before he officially became Hokage, because he was already named the second Hokage, but he didn't decide a date of the inauguration. By the end of the story, he did decide a date for the inauguration.
Yeah, because he was coping with the loss of the Sharingan and how could he protect the village. Yes, Kakashi was stand-in to allow Naruto to mature a bit and role before he got the role, but Kakashi did a lot in those 9 years.
And they show in one of the episodes he actually is a very good leader.
He is.
It's a good thing his mentor was the fourth Hokage.
Yeah, and like I said, the average Hokage term is roughly 9 years unless they're tragically defeated or unalived in office. So,
with
the exception of Minato, who only lasted a year because of the Nine Tails attack, Tobirama, who sacrificed himself, and Hiruzen, he ended up, I think, with 3, arguably 4 terms, not counting Minato's death.
He was Hokage for a long time.
Yeah, he had the longest reign than anybody.
He was Hokage when he was 18. I think he died when he was like 70.
Roughly 70. So 60 years. That's roughly 6 consecutive terms. That's over the course of the entire triad of the first, second, and third Great Shinobi Wars, plus 2 terms amidst a post-war essentially a Cold War, and then retired afterward. And then
he had to resign.
Well, okay, he had to resign before ultimately taking the position back after Minato's death.
Because he was the most logical choice.
And I don't even think Hiruzen was even that bad of a Hokage. He just was going through a lot of turmoil at the time, and he did the best he could given the circumstances.
And I don't think he minded Naruto calling him old man. He apparently smiled. He probably loved that Naruto called him old man. He probably thought it was a title of endearment. And the one thing they never really explained in the series is that why in the world that Naruto was allowed to still call Kakashi Sensei when he was Okage, while everyone else called him simply like Lord Sixth or whatever. But he was allowed to call him by that the whole time. He was like controlling the last. He actually mentioned he called him Kakashi Sensei. And because they never really showed him calling anything else.
Naruto's not a very formal speaker, and when he does try to be formal, it sounds really weird and off-putting. Like he's just saying it because he's obligated to say it, not because he actually feels any respect.
I think in the case of him, I think because he probably allows because he was a student.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a protocol for that, but again, Naruto's not a very.
I think Sakura still calls him that.
Yeah, and that's just the sentiment between being the student and growing into your own.
You ever notice in the series that Sasuke never called him Kakashi Sensei? Never, just called him Kakashi. I have noticed that because anytime he sees him, like, oh, hi Kakashi, not hi Kakashi Sensei. He never uses the word Sensei would talk to him. Never did.
Nope. But
he was very seemed like he was respectful toward the other senseis, like Ashima and Koronai. He was very respectful toward it. Even Mike Guy.
He was respectful somewhat.
Though he did call him by a nickname, which he actually liked. They can call him Bushy Brow Sensei, which he actually liked that nickname.
Yeah, he did not. Guy did not complain about that at all
because he knew the fact that because he's pointed by his eyebrows because he calls Rock Lee Bushy Brow, which of course I don't think he still calls him that. I don't remember he calls it anymore, but Rock Lee doesn't have a problem with it at all. And of course my guy is like, cool nickname, Bushy Brow.
But yeah,
even with his eyebrows.
But yeah, Hiruzen was Hokage for actively 40 to 50 years, give or take a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, Konohamaru had this thing where he wore a blue scarf. Even when he was older, he still wore that blue scarf. In the series, they never really got into why he wears blue scarf. He just does. I know that in the last, there was a whole thing, the whole big plot point movie was a scarf. He wore a scarf a lot in the movie. And he's very protective of it. And Hinata thought it was some girl gave it to him, but not exactly. She found out later it was actually his mom's scarf.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that was so cute.
And scarves are considered a gesture of love and bonding that even when you're apart, you always have a memento to remind them. So although it's never officially...
Konohamaru got his hands on this scarf and kept all this time. He never knew he had it until he went off his mission.
Yeah, but for Konohamaru, it's more than likely it's his mom's scarf because it is officially confirmed that Konohamaru's parents were tragically killed on a mission gone wrong. So it's likely belonging to one of their parents, and Konohamaru keeps it as a memento.
But what about Naruto's mom's scarf?
Again, knowing Naruto is probably tucked away somewhere, and Naruto just didn't bother to look for it.
Yep. And somehow, I think it was mentioned in one of the episodes that Konohamaru managed to keep all of his stuff from his apartment after it was destroyed. In one of the episodes. They really kept a lot of his stuff, which Naruto didn't buy very much stuff aside from stuff he needed. Like, if you see his apartment before destruction, his apartment was a mess. Oh my gosh. Like, he didn't take out trash. He very rarely bought anything. And a lot of things he ate was like, and what do you see he lit at his apartment? Empty boxes of ramen. Because he loved ramen. Because it's Japan, they love noodles. But sometimes noodles are very fattening for you if you have too much of them. But I think his Japan, it's probably because that's all they have. So I'm not going to criticize him for that. But from American perspective, that's a bit too much. He eats that stuff every freaking day. Like, it was the Ichiro's food stand that somehow became a restaurant in the Boruto series.
Well, he did have celebrity backing from Naruto, which allowed the restaurant to expand.
Because Naruto was his favorite customer.
And he gave him a lifetime coupon for free ramen as a wedding gift.
And he used it, which apparently he kept it after all that time. It was never to use it prior to that one. It's the him and Barge went to the place. I was kind of wondering about when this place was going to show up in the series, and it was the episode where Himar got sick. Because they are like, she wanted hamburgers, she wanted ramen. And of course, her and I kicked him out of the house, so they went to Ichi Ramen, and they got free ramen. And this is the episode that got the Gluttony Queen OVA nod.
But yeah, from a structure standpoint, episode 18 is just a retelling of the inauguration OVA, just with original scenes.
Because I think they used the same animation from the OVA.
Yep.
And I think at the time, it was the only OVA that was actually confirmed to be canon. And then of course they implied that the Gluttony Queen contest, they implied that's canon too with this OVA, with this episode.
Or at least similar events to where Hinata could have set the record.
Yeah, and I'm like, a lot of people are like, wait, Hinata is the Gluttony King. Given how thin she is, it's probably because she probably works out a lot. Or she's used to eating a lot of food.
Well, she is the wife of Naruto, so that's to be expected.
Yeah. And the fact that she's able to keep with all of his eating habits. Himari, it's like basically with the post time skip, it's like she's so trained in ninja. They had to establish in the anime that she wanted to become a ninja. What type of ninja, she didn't say, but she wanted her brother to help her.
Yeah, and ultimately, I have heard this theory go around that the omnipotent is kind of like the monkey's paw, or the stone from Wonder Woman 84, to where if you be careful what you wish for, or rescind your original wish. First of all, we have no idea if the omnipotence is even going to be remotely wrapped up into Blue Vortex or not. But I'm just going to go ahead and address this theory now. Even if that were true, best case scenario, Kawaki would rather die than rescind his original wish. Not to mention, first of all, Kawaki was contemplating his fate as he was being manhunted by Konoha forces. He wasn't even thinking of a wish in the moment. If anything, when Ada tried to console him, the wish was made subconsciously as he was dreading that Boruto ended up being the vessel. Boruto, this brat who didn't appreciate what he had or know what it was like to be an outsider, to be hunted, to be treated less than human. It was a subconscious pretense that Ada just instinctively granted thanks to the omnipotence. Kawaki didn't even fully understand his envy or resentment towards Boruto, other than the fact that Boruto was just a spoiled brat who was ignorant to what he had. So there's no wish to rescind, or if there is one, or if Kawaki does become self-aware, sense the time skip, like, okay, this is what I wished for, Kawaki would never rescind his wish. He's just too stubborn to.
Yep. Though also, it was shown when time skip happened that you have Himari training with Chocho, and I'm thinking also Sadara too. So it could imply at post times because she probably became an official ninja, but she probably is granted the Guinea status just yet because she was training for it.
Yep.
Though I didn't get of why she had to dress like a punk, and I've criticized basically the outfits of pretty much everybody. Post time skip, they all dress like punks because it's what hip nowadays. Let's try out everybody dress like gangsters, even though these are ninjas, and they don't want to wear their training outfits for reasons.
But yeah, man, I know this is happy holidays, and it's always a great chance to have you on the show. But man, we've been at this almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
But so final thoughts before we wrap up tonight, man.
Good arc. Good. I do love the chapter, but next time comes up, please have better story structure because the flashbacks in this chapter were a bit confusing when the heck they take place.
All right. As for me, again, structure, that's probably my only real nitpick about this chapter. It was pretty good for what it is, and the Sasuke Danzo comparisons aside, like, hey, it's foreshadowing something for a reason. We just have to see how it all plays out. As for again, I'm likely going to take a week off due to the holidays, unless it's stuff I've already pre-recorded and have scheduled on the channel to come out already. As for New Direction verse, that's likely going to kick off into the new year. I want to get at least a movie review in time for the holidays. I was going to do Merry Little Batman last year, but there was just no time left. So I might go ahead and record that tonight or sometime tomorrow afternoon and have it posted in time for Christmas Day. I'll let you guys know what I
I
decide to
think you
do.
also had another movie review coming up that's since been postponed again.
Oh yes, yes. We were collabing for a movie review of Deadpool and Wolverine. So yeah, that ended up being delayed. As for Sonic 3, I have watched the film, but I have not fully cemented my thoughts on it. So
I still have not seen the first one yet, sadly.
again, if you guys want, let us know in the comment if you want us to do a review of the Sonic movies. And then after that, stay tuned for Anime Blaze, where we cover JoJo Bizarre Adventure Part 3.
Yep, Star Wars Crusaders.
All right. Nick, anything you want to promote before we leave?
As the video's coming up, I'm getting close to finishing up with my Metal Hero series I'm working right now, which is Jackson. It's taken a while to get through it. It's just the last couple weeks have not been good to me due to not much time in the last couple weeks to watch this stuff. So, and plus I've had so many anime to review lately. I had a total of up until Saturday, I had a total of 13 anime I'm reviewing. Now I'm down to below that because these anime are wrapping up. So I'm gonna hopefully get this done really soon. And go on break for and work on a few different anime. And then get back to finish up. The series is 46 episodes. It's the fourth Metal Hero series, the first one after the Spaceship trilogy wrapped up.
All right.
Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. With all that being said, thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you and yours. Flame off.